Time to cry havoc and welcome to the Zwift World Series show. I'm OJ Borge, excited to be here for each and every one of these elite races throughout the season. Now let me give you the official bump if you're new to this. It is the Zwift World Series, the newest and most exciting development in the elite Zwift racing, with a regular season of epic races every 2 weeks, all leading into a season-ending championships, which you haven't yet put it in your diary, please do. The Zwift Games are in March 2025. What's that, about 6 months away? Now, what are we going to watch today? Well, we'll watch all the action from Elite Race 2, and it's the men up first, same as last time out, followed by the women a little bit later on, both taking on the peak performance route, which you may know, and it involves the steep climb up the grade in Watopia, which I haven't ridden yet, and I've not done my FTP of it, but I'm going to enjoy watching everyone race up it later on. Before we go any further, though, let's hand you over to our in-house expert. That is Hannah Walker, to start us off with a quick lowdown of what the Zwift World Series is all about.
Each round of the Zwift World Series kicks off with the Open Qualifiers. These races are open to any Zwifter from any team who has completed the pre-verification process with no field size limits. All Open Qualifiers take place on the same course as the Elite Race, and for Race 2, this is in the peak performance route in Watopia. The races will take on a scratch race format, with the qualified riders progressing to the Elite Race in 2 weeks' time. Here they will join Series Pass riders formed of 3 riders from 8 invited teams who placed the highest in last year's Zwift Grand Prix, and those who earned Series Passes in Race 1. Series Pass riders do not need to go through any Open Qualifiers and can race all Elite races in the Zwift World Series. In the Elite Race, there will be prize money at 2 preems, 1 sprint and 1 KOM, as well as prize money for the top 10 finishers. Riders who represent a team will receive points based on their best performing top 3 riders. Teams can try and boost their chances for this classification by qualifying as many team members as possible through the Open Qualifiers. In the Zwift World Series Elite races, new Series Passes are available for any rider that do not already have them for coming in the top 10 or winning either preem. So any qualifier that performs well in the Elite Race can also punch their ticket to the rest of the series. There really is a lot at stake. Let's take a look at the overall series. There are a total of 5 individual races to look forward to, with 1 race each month between September and January. In addition to the prizes available per race, each event riders will also earn series points that count towards an overall classification. Race 1 happened in September in Richmond on the brand new Richmond Loop Around route. Race 2 in October will be in Watopia on the never before raced peak performance route. Race 3 in November will be in Yorkshire on the brand new Yorkshire Double Loops route, whilst Race 4 in December will be in Macquarie Islands on the brand new Shisa Shakedown route. And wrapping up the series, the final race in January will be the epic Queen Stage, with a finish on top of the Radio Tower climb in Watopia on the Power to the Tower route. There are also some great series-wide prizes. In the individual classification overall, there will be prize money for the top 10 and prize money overall in the team classification for the top 10 placed teams. And don't forget, the top 50 riders in the individual classification will also receive an invite to race the season-ending championship, the Zwift Games 2025 Elite Races.
So that is what the Zwift World Series is all about. And our riders, both the men and the women, they'll be deep into their warm-ups right now. But before we head into round 2 and we get this racing underway, we need to recap you and get you up to speed on what happened in round 1. And to do that and look at the individual and the team classifications, my man Nathan Guerra has that for us. Nathan.
Thanks a lot, OJ. This is your top 20 individual men, and it's Joe Perot leading it out at that 75 points. Jeff Lee more lower than in second. It's going to be Mikhail Kaminsky in third. That Richard Berry, the Irish national champion, sitting in 4th place. Ricardo Paniza in 5th. Neil Frett, Thomas Frall, representing North America. Sebastian Jones, followed up by Johannes Rendrup Keating in 9th place, and then Mads Buster rounding out your top 10. Nicky Hugg sitting in 11th, Stefan Kirchmer in 12th, Dan Turek in 13th. It's Leigh Gryffindor, the new kid on the block that's jumped into the top 20 here in 14th currently, and Arnie Jacobs in 15th. Yonsei Honda in 16th. Jasper Paradines in 17th. Thomas Perrin took on that qualifier, and here in 18th in the overall for the series. Watch out for him today, followed up by Vidar Mail in 19th and Adrian Alvarado in 20th. Next, esports presented by Insured, leading things out in the team classification. They are followed by 15 points behind the Coalition, who's going to be led out probably by Lionel Viasen to chase them down. Aba Sinji in 3rd, followed up by Restart, presented by Alex Cole in 4th. Movistar E-Team are in 5th. Team Swedish Zwifters are in 6th. Beast Mode, presented by Rose. The German team's 7th place right now. Wahoo Esports in 8th. Priority T in 9th. And Cyrus Esports is rounding out your top 10 for the team classification in the Zwift World Series.
Thank you, Nathan. As we can see then, it's pretty tight at the top, especially in the team race. And one thing that I always realise is you don't really get to appreciate what's going on behind the scenes because this is a team race. How are you going to attack? What are the tactics they're going to be? And the people who are leading the Zwift World Series so far, and that is Next Esports. And this is wonderful. I love this. They've agreed to give us a very special look at their race radio during race 1 as their rider Richard Barry goes for a top place finish. I love this. Check it out.
Come on, Richie. Come on. Oh, these wheels. Don't be baited yet. Okay, you gotta close that. Come on, Richie. Hold that wheel. Let's go. Come on. Let's go, Richie. Come on. Dig deep, buddy. Come on. Pack's coming hot. Let's go. Everything you got. Empty the tank. Let's go. Come on. Don't hesitate. Just push. Go. All you got, Richie. Come on. Everything. Now. Come on. Everything. Let's go. Come on. Everybody up. Let's go.
Oh, boys!
Oof.
How would you like them apples?
Richie, what a great ride, buddy.
I am chuffed with that. Well done, Richie. Channel my inner Tom Perrin. Woo! So good. Surprised with that one. Quality ride, man. Quality ride.
How do we like those apples? They like those apples very much. And I have to say, actually, I'm glad no one's ever listened to my race radio because it's just grunting and swearing. Nathan, if we look at that, I mean, what coaching from Greg? You need someone like that in your corner. That helped so much, the encouragement and just the knowing when to attack and when to hold off and when to go full gas.
Yeah, Greg Abbott, he is one of the best team managers out there. I've met Greg Abbott in real life, and it was so obvious when I met him how committed he was to esports and to Next presented by Insured. And the reality of Richard Barry and how far he's come, it's kind of been, ever since winning that national championship, he's just stepped it up by level, little by little. And next thing you know, he is at this ability to be in a podium position at the very top level of esports. It's absolutely amazing to see. And OJ, I'm just so happy for him, actually, because I've watched this progression of an athlete from not really being in that conversation necessarily for the top 20 amongst the top elites, and now he's in it for a win, perhaps.
Is it physical or mental for Richie? Is it the fact that he's now part of a team that's doing so well, or has he just come on leaps and bounds when it comes to his legs?
You know, I think for Richie, there's two things for him. I think one is he's just really hungry. I think he's found a niche for him in sports. I think that's a reality of it. And then he's surrounded himself with one of the best teams. There's a lot of knowledge, experiential knowledge that you can gain from those that you're with. We're talking James Barnes, Thomas Perrin, Brian Duffy Jr. I mean, there's a lot of national championships, Thomas Thrall on that team. When you surround yourself with greatness, I mean, it kind of rubs off a little bit. And I think he's learned a ton from that team.
And he's got Greg in his ear as well. Nathan, can't wait to speak to you a bit more later on. It's great to see you coming from the Arctic Circle. White-out background and a puffer jacket as well. That's where you're coming to us from. Let's just take a quick stock check on where we are with the Series Pass riders. Now, before race 1, there were 24, 3 riders from the top 8 teams who placed in the highest of last year's Zwift Grand Prix. In race 1, we then added another 7. Keep up to date with the maths here. New Series Passes, meaning that in total there were 31. In each elite race, these Series Pass riders are joined by our qualifiers, and for this round, there are more qualifiers than usual. Now, due to an unforeseen issue with hardware for riders in the open qualifier, which was 2 weeks ago, all riders who completed the race are eligible, and this is very important, to race today. So we are going to see a much bigger starting field size than in round one. We think if everyone takes the start line, it'll be around 100 riders. I mean, this is going to make for absolute fireworks. It's also an amazing opportunity for these extra riders to make a name for themselves and earn a series pass. This is what they need during today's race. They get that by finishing in the top 10 or winning a prime. This is sure to make the race even more interesting, especially in the fight for those primes. So let's head into race 2. It's all to play for on Peak Performance Route in Watopia. And you know, this is where Nathan comes back in, because the route is important, those prime locations are important, and that climb is important as well, Nathan.
Race 2, yep, it's a scratch race on Peak Performance course. Both the Open Qualifier and the Elite race today are taking place on this course. The distance is 46.6 kilometers with an elevation gain of 730 meters. Starting in downtown Watopia, the route heads towards Ocean Boulevard, where it will pass the finish arch and then head over to Titans Grove, where the riders will pick up the one and only power-up for this race, the draft power-up. The riders will head out to the southern coast towards the grade, turning right and heading up the steep climb, straight up the climb for the first half, and then switchbacks for the second half. Once at the top of the grade, the climbing is not over as they continue up to the epic climb summit, and then descending starts down toward the marina. The route finishes off on the rolling roads towards the volcano, down into downtown Watopia, and towards the finish line just after the section for the hilly climb. Also on the route, there are 2 preems, 1 sprint preem at the Woodland Sprint and 1 climb preem on the grade. Additional series passes are awarded to racers who finish in the top 10 or win either of the 2 preems.
I mean, that is a ton of elevation. It's a great course for racing on. And just looking at the grade makes me feel a little weird inside. But let's see what some of the men who are racing today have to say about this route.
My name is Thomas Thrall. I'm 33 years old. I'm from Canada. I race for Next powered by Insured.
I'm Sébastien Avaux. I'm 28 years old. I'm from France and riding for Hexagon.
Hello, my name is Matthias de Rose. I'm 21 years old. I live in Belgium, nearby Brussels.
Lionel Bouyassine, 35, Belgian, riding for the coalition.
Hello, my name is Jakob Björklund. I am 38 years old, soon. My team is Team Swedish Zwifters.
I'm Jack Polly. I'm 36, from New Zealand. I ride for Cryo RDT Elite.
My name is Howard Gjelnes. I'm 33 years old and I'm coming from Norway, riding at the team Movistar.
So my name is Geoffrey Meilleur. I'm a French cyclist. I am 31 years old and I am member of the Hexagon team.
The grade.
The hell.
Hard and painful.
Brutal.
Steep climb.
Climbers race.
Steep and tough.
Too hard for me.
Always prefer the race win.
Maybe race win, yeah.
Race win.
Race win.
Preem.
Prime.
Race win.
Michael Plantureux from Hexagon.
Lionel Vujazin.
Me.
Mikael Kaminski.
Martin Mertens.
Avaux and Plantureux. Hop.
Start to finish, not that many, but definitely pieces of it.
Only one time.
Never.
0 at the moment.
Actually, none times in free ride, just in training mode.
Never.
Once.
One time.
I don't even want to try. It'd be so ugly.
Don't have pain face, like just embrace the pain. So just smile.
There you go. That's my pain fist as well if I was doing that race. I love all of that, and I love it all, and I can't wait, and I love Lionel's confidence. So then, the riders, they are in the pens. They're like caged tigers ready to go. So let's head over to our commentary team. John Molden first. It's Nathan Guerra.
Thanks a lot, OJ. Racing about to get going, but first want to welcome John Mole. John, great to have you on commentary out here today. Excited for some racing.
Yeah, really looking forward to today. It's going to be an exciting course, and we're just going to get down to the racing and really see what they can all get stuck into today.
Yeah, I have a feeling the race is most likely going to come out pretty calm. I'd be really surprised if they really started your more traditional type Zwift racing start where it kicks out of the pens with too many orange numbers. The reality is that there is going to be a preem fairly early on before they really start their climbing. They're also going to be thinking a lot about where the main split point on the course is with all of the climbing that is out there on the grade. I have a feeling they're going to have these key points out here today, John. Rather than this race of constant attrition over and over again, they're going to be looking forward to when the attrition actually starts, I think.
Yeah, it's quite easy to pick it out. You know where the effort is going to hurt. There's no denying or hiding away from that when they get to the grade and have to go all out. And that kind of makes it simple. The riders really just need to think about what they can do. They can get over the grade. The best climbers are going to come to the fore, that is for sure. So it's just either. There could be some options if you're not so strong, trying to make a move earlier, have a little bit of a gap before you get to the bottom of the grade, but that's easier said than done, of course.
Well, they're correcting me, that's for sure, with the watts they're putting out right now, as it is going to be Slowlander, as well as Harvard Galdines there at the front, 6.1 watts per kilogram. That's a no-joke kind of effort for 511 watts. Now, we had this happen in the qualifiers a little bit as well, John, and I think that the reality of some of these riders that maybe don't have the pure climbing watts per kilogram might want to get out ahead of it and see if they can get a little bit of a distance so that they can kind of time it right, at least get that gap out there so that they're caught halfway up the grade or even toward the top of the grade perhaps. And if they're not chased down, that could be something where some of these riders are able to get some separation. But with that sprint preem, things are going to ramp up pretty intensely. I have a feeling some of the teams are going to be thinking about closing this down though and not letting that get away.
Yeah, if you have a teammate who's a really strong climber, and let's say you're not one of the strongest climbers, it's almost making it as hard as possible for the other competitors on this flat bit, but making sure the best rider in your team has the chance to really open it up the grade and see where they can go. Obviously, like you said, there's 6.3 watts per kilo on the front. You can see people really trying to make it hard for everyone else, but it's all about that damage limitation early on. I think we're going to get to the grade and it is just going to explode.
Well, things look like they've calmed right on down. Jasper Parading's at the front now and 3.9 watts per kilogram. I think those initial moves before they do head up Titans Grove have been made, and now the question is, will we see another move made early? Now, this is a very large field out here today, over 100 starters, so that really ends up changing things up a little bit. Now, this is a rider, JP Leclerc, on the front here at this point, coming out of Canada. This is a rider who I think wants to get that distance, as well as Buffington. This is great to see Andrew Buffington also looking to maybe jump on that move here coming from Leclerc. Team Turbo, Team Restart, both making a couple of moves off the front. And this again, Joseph Chudik now going too. And I think this is exactly what we're talking about. Those who want to get away, get a little bit of a time gap before they actually hit that grade. And, you know, so one of the things here is, if a rider is one of those names that some of the other riders who have that pure climbing, you know, Josh Harris, I'm going to be looking at, Lionel Vias, and we're looking at Mikhail Kaminsky, Ali Jones. These are riders to watch out for when we do hit the grade. They might let a rider like this sneak away and say, look, I think we can catch them later on. And that is exactly what Leclerc is looking for here, I think.
Yeah, just trying to gain that little bit of an advantage. So obviously it's so difficult, like we said, about the size of the group as well. With the size of the peloton behind, it's going to be really hard to make an effort. You need to have a decent-sized group of riders away to allow you all to stay away. But then obviously controlling that, making sure as the group in the front gets bigger, the harder it is to bring back for the riders behind. So it's going to be flat out, but you can see quite a good group away at the moment. Only a small gap over the chasing peloton. Around 8 riders getting together, trying to work together, trying to open things up.
Ricardo Paniza, he's definitely a rider. Team Castelli presented by Elite. They are somebody to watch out for when it comes to these breakaways. Ricardo Paniza is somebody who's done this many times before, and once in a while it does stick. He rolls the dice, and it's difficult often to hit the right timing, but Paniza has done it before and walked away. Today, it looks like the pack is not very interested in him getting away, though, over the top of Titans Grove as it's all back together. These undulations here, they do have some roll-through speed. You are able to have a lot of opportunity to roll through, take that speed from the middle of the pack, and then kick up and over the top. But with the reality of the Titans Grove climb coming up and how the way that riders tend to match each other over the top of a climb like that you can draft a lot on, I have a feeling that that's going to neutralize things a lot, because you may feel like you're wasting energy right now where riders just kind of get a free ride over the top of Titans Grove. So it'll be interesting to see if anybody actually wants to make some moves here, because a lot of times can just feel like throwing money out the bank.
Yeah, that's the thing. You haven't got a wallet that's full of cash. Everyone's got a limit, so you don't want to be throwing your change around early on and have nothing left. Everyone knows the key part, where you need to spend all your money, where you spend that effort, is on the grade. So it might be those riders you haven't seen in these early stages that will really come to the fore. But again, you can see the likes of Thomas Perrin, winner of the qualifier, he's up near the front. Everyone's quite nervous today, I think, Nathan. No one wants to let anyone slip off and get an advantage.
Well, there's definitely a lot on the line, isn't there? So I have a feeling perhaps that is why. Now, just as a little bit of a reminder for the Zwift World Series, the team at Zwift have developed a handy website for fans that has all the information for you that you need to know about the race, and also links to a live data dashboard for fans, which will help you follow all the action in even more detail. The website can be found at ZwiftWorldSeries.com, and the link to it is also pinned in the YouTube chat of the live stream. Today in the rider dashboard, you'll be able to see groups on the road in the left-hand column. A group will start when there is a gap of 3 or more seconds. For each group, you can see the number of riders in that group and the average speed in watts per kilogram of all the riders in the group. You'll also be able to see the time gaps and distance on the road between each group. In the middle column and right columns, you'll be able to follow your favorite riders and all of their stats on this dashboard. You can use the arrows at the bottom to toggle through all the riders in the field. This will allow you to follow your favorite rider in detail throughout the race. And just a reminder that the data dashboard works best on Chrome. Absolutely love what Zwift have done with that, so everybody can follow along. Now, talking about favorite riders, for me, this is one of the up-and-coming, this is your everyman's man here, Andrew Buffington, off the front. This guy is one of the most committed esports athletes. You know, this is somebody in the last year who's come on the radar here, out of the community, has used the pathway to get into the top level, and now he's off the front representing Turbo. Great to see from Buffington. You got to love it with a guy like this, John.
Yeah, it's brave, and that's exactly what we like to see. He starts the climb as well. He's got a bit of a gap already, which is really interesting, but Buffington goes out. He loves racing, doesn't he? But you can see the difference. The swarm of that big group of the peloton almost make it look easy to bring him back. But Buffington quite controlled there. 350 watts. He knew what was happening behind.
Yeah, Andrew, I think getting a little bit of TV time there, too. He's definitely one that likes to go for that. Vyazin now making his way to the front, controlling things. Interesting enough to see. Lionel Vyazin saying that he's the favorite out there today. It'll be interesting to see if he can pull that off. Definitely one of the most experienced riders. Now we're looking at Pim van Diem's data out there. Just a steady, 493 watts on this climb here as they start to press things up. And I think we have a little bit of a chat actually here with Pim van Diem. Let's go ahead and see what he had to say about his Zwift World Series.
My name is Pim van Diemen. My age is 32. I'm from the Netherlands. My team is Movistar E-Team, and I would describe my riding style as a climber / long-range attacker. When others get tired, I get going. Yeah, so first of all, it's to have fun, and second of all, to get as high as possible with the team. Oh, I think that would be my win in the Zwift Racing League on Surrey Hills, which is one of the toughest courses there are, and I managed to get a solo victory. I think that would be Lennart Teugels, the Belgian rider, because we have the same riding style, but he's just that little bit better than I am. Oh, well, I don't know. I'm just happy that I'm there, so I never celebrate. I was like, I'm just too tired.
Well, it looks like the prediction here about it staying calm has been absolutely corrected by Kaminsky and Paniza. They went up and over the top of that climb with a solid kick up into orange numbers, got a little bit of a gap, and then the pack was on the chase. This is an interesting move because perhaps they're looking for those preems. You know, this is a nice way to grab those preems if you're coming up against just pure sprinters, which will be left in this pack. You'll have people who are mainly looking for that woodland sprint preem to be securing their series pass, John. And I have a feeling that perhaps they're looking at this going, we might not be able to go full gas sprint against some of these riders, but we can get away. And then after the sprint, recover before the grade. Thomas Parent, Kaminsky, as well as Paniza, all trying to make that move, but unable to do so as they're brought back into the fold.
Yeah, it's all about timing. I think it's a really difficult one. We want to make sure you get to that woodland sprint. As you've said, you qualify, make sure you're secure for the whole rest of the Zwift World Series. That's a key point. But today, the size of this peloton, no one's letting anyone get away, are they? Everyone's nervous. Everyone knows they need to get to the grade in the best position they can and with the least amount of energy used as well. So everyone's kind of, you saw everyone, a few little orange numbers, but everyone's quite, they're giving each other a hard time. There's no denying that, but everyone's obviously making sure they know when they need to really light things up.
Another little bit of a move off the front, it looks like. It's going to be none other than James Barnes now. Nice to see the move coming from him. 6.4 watts per kilogram. And this is another situation where Next Esports, I saw them put Thomas Parent off the front. Now Barney's making a move. Harvard Geldine's now looking to follow that up, knowing that Next Esports, anytime that they're going to make a move, something's going on here that you need to be conscious of. So Geldine's, Barnes now off the front just a little bit. They've got about 1.8 seconds here, going on to 2 seconds on the downhill, up into 52 kilometers per hour. And the continuance is there. Holden Camus at the front of the pack, actually slowing it down, interesting enough. Cyrus Esports not interested in chasing this down. So it's going to be Movistar next here off the front. These two start working together and that pack just sits around. This might go somewhere, but it looks like Daniel Benindetti here interested to now bring this back. Ruben Donk getting involved, and now as it starts to kick up, the speed of the group is going to come right on up to bring this back together.
Seems like we have a bit of a pattern forming here, don't we, Nathan? It's little attacks here and there, but the group always ends up coming back. There's always someone in the peloton behind who wants to make a big effort and drag those riders back. And again, you look at it though, Next Esports, they've qualified 10 riders for today's race. They've got the numbers, they've got the options to really make it a difficult race. But it looks like it keeps coming back. Riders always keen though. It's always great to see that fighting spirit, trying to make those little moves.
We do see the elastics slightly starting to snap, and I think, you know, John, in your experience, it's not the first, it's not the second, but you start getting to that third, fourth, and fifth move, and if the pack does string out enough and they have to put in enough work, eventually some people start going, look, I got to save this for the grade. I know that there's a major effort coming, and eventually it can snap. And if you get enough riders together off the front, continuing this effort over and over again, you may be able to see it, but it looks like it's coming right back together here now at this point. But I mean, I'm actually a little bit surprised to see how often these riders are going, but it's good to see. And if they continue on, we may see something go here pretty soon.
Yeah, you're definitely right. It's all the repeated efforts over and over again. We are only 14 minutes into the race. The normal sweet spot was around the 20-minute mark. After 20 minutes of racing, there's some tired legs from all those efforts they've made. And the guys who are really strong there, and especially after 20 minutes, can start making that elastic that the stretch of the peloton gets longer as the race goes on. So I'm thinking maybe around 20 minutes we could see a big group go away. Maybe needs to be a decent sized group, but nothing too big. There needs to be around 6 to 9 riders who could slip off the front, and then the riders behind who are looking and waiting for the grade, they'll wait. They'll trust their ability that they can bring those riders back.
One thing definitely to highlight on the right-hand side there of your screen in the rider nearby list is for the positions. Those little World Series markers that you see, icons you see, those are the riders that do have series passes. But then the little helmet that you see there, that is the team classification leaders. James Barnes, you can see on the front there for Next Esports, they are the leaders currently for that. We're looking at Ben Meer here. It looks like we're going to have a little bit of a look into what Ben Meer's experience is with the Zwift World Series as well.
My name is Ben Meer. I am 43 years old. I'll be 44 in December. I am from the USA. I race for Wahoo Esports and kind of a time trial climbing specialist, I guess, for the team. Much more of a donkey than a sprinter or anything else. So I'm there to work and do my job. I'm a really bad quitter, so I just keep plowing along and I can hit a threshold or above for quite a while. Help the team do well again. Hopefully, placing a little bit better than we did last season. We had a chance to finish on the podium as a team, but didn't quite make it. A few different races with different technical issues really kind of cost us, but overall I thought we rode really, really well as a team. Should be the last season's Zwift Grand Prix, the team time trial that we won. We'll say Rob Devlin thinks he is, but he can't beat me. Oh man, I don't win that much. Usually it's just gravel races outside, but if I get there indoors, I just clap like my little kindergartner does.
I absolutely love that. The little clap like the kindergartner, and probably happy as a young kindergartner.
My name is Ben Meer. I am 43 years old. I'll be 44 in December.
As we did see Ben there on a little bit of a attack for a moment there. Now Harvey Geraldine's now kicking things up again at the front. 6 watts per kilogram currently coming from him. I wonder if working for Movistar perhaps there a little bit to set something up for a rider like Pim van Diem perhaps. 7 watts per kilogram. Zach Neer covering that very quickly. We see a lot of Next Esports actually toward the front now. For some reason, I have a feeling that they're looking to be in the right position for this Woodland Sprint, perhaps to set somebody up for a World Series pass. There's Neer now toward the front. We do see that he does not, I believe, have a World Series pass icon next to his name, but now it's going to be Arnie Jacobs now making a move. This is one of those riders here that's new to the fold when it comes to the elite set of the elites of Zwift racing, and he has definitely made the name for himself recently. He's not looking for a sprint. He's looking to break this now.
And he goes. It's all about this Woodland Sprint now. This is almost the finale. They need to qualify. They need to make sure they're in the World Series. This is exactly what everyone's going for now. I think everyone is going to be absolutely on the limit. Forgotten about the grade coming up. It's all about the sprint.
Yeah, 100%. And we do see the attack there from Lionel Viasen, even actually going up into 10 watts per kilogram. Viasen perhaps looking to secure a series pass as well. It's going to be Hayden Pucker here now to the front here, 8 watts per kilogram, looking to just drop everybody here with a Watt Bomb for quite a long time. But he's right on his wheel, though. Kaminsky is going to be pulling everyone along. And Kaminsky, I believe, on that Golden Tron, watch out for him. He knows how to set things up correctly. And Viasen right on his wheel. I believe that's going to be the 1-2 from Coalition here to try and take this down. They're perfectly positioned here from Coalition, but Piniza looking to disrupt that as he makes his way toward the front. Pucking out of position a little bit. Here comes a roll through the pack. Maybe too early for their positioning here for that restart team as the rest of the pack rolls right on through.
is. We're getting closer and closer to that sprint. And you see the swarm. If you're not in the right position and you miss that, you come from at the right time. It's all about timing in this peloton now. Who's going to open up to go for the woodland sprint?
Yeah, and it looks like here Movistar making their way to the front again. That's going to be actually Arnie Jacobs again. Another solid 10 watts per kilogram here coming from Jacobs. A quick little chase here now going down. Joseph Chudik now coming through. Vyazin now 2 seconds off the front actually. Vyazin with the up and over the top there. Coalition here making a serious move. Nicely done, but now comes Kaminsky. Kaminsky now challenging, it looks like here. Josh Harris trying to come across. It looks like Slowlander as well. Robin Dant there can see that that it's going to be a serious threat. Orange numbers just constantly popping as Kaminsky goes up and over the top of Vyazin. Here it comes now. This is all in effort here coming from these riders, and they've got the gap. I'm not sure that they're going to be caught. I think this is said and done as Vyazin comes over the top. 10 watts per kilogram coming from him, and it's going to be Vyazin, Kaminsky, Vyazin. Who's going to take it? Kaminsky, I think, with the golden Tron is going to do it. But from behind here, Joseph Chudik. No, it's going to be Holden. Holden Camus comes through, and it's going to be the best sprinter we've known of in the world in Zwift Esports. That's for sure, as Holden shows us exactly how it is done. None other than former U.S. national champion. That is so satisfying actually to see, because that is his forte, and he set it up perfectly, John.
Perfectly done. And you can see the effort that is taken out of Holden. Just almost backed up. That was his race today, wasn't it, to win that sprint? You can't really deny it. That's his World Series pass done and dusted. A brilliant job there from the veteran American, showing exactly what he needed to do. I absolutely, seriously, Holden showed up and everything was just about that. That's what, that is his race. It's get this or the race is essentially over if I don't. And now he can roll on. He's got his series pass. He collects his $500 preem, and he's good to go for the day. And I bet you he's pretty happy about that. I've seen him out training plenty for these sprints, and Holden's got to be happy as can be. But now, after all of that effort, a guy who knows endurance, that's for sure. He has competed. Looking at a quick little replay here, though, it looks like Joseph Chudik trying to make it happen. But look at this. I think Holden's got a solid 1,500 watts at least at his max power through that sprint. Look at how much speed he had there with the draft power up coming through. Perfectly timed. But now back in with Vidar Mail being chased down by James Barnes, actually. Is that James Barnes being the workhorse, perhaps, for next, or trying to come across? This is exactly the kind of situation Vidar Mail wants to see. He wants the pack to be totally tired out and get away, because this is a guy, he does 24-hour competitions, actually. He was going for, I believe, a world championship in 24 hours. And Vidar Mail, this is a guy who can ride steady threshold literally all day long. And if he can get off the front and get enough time, they're a threat with James Barnes off the front here. Yeah, you don't let Mail get a gap, do you? He can do 24 hours. It's complete opposite of Holden Cameo. He did 22 minutes, got his job done, and he's out of here. But these two now, with Barnes coming across, I think you were right. I thought their plan for Next Esports for Barnes was to try and keep the pack together. But he's made that little move. It's a 4.5 second gap. There isn't much of a chase behind. I think it's one of those, as long as it isn't too big, they're not going to have a problem. I think the grade is going to take care of everything today. But these riders now in the peloton, they really need to just almost take a breath. That's been a fast 22 minutes of racing, flat out.
Taking a look at Martin Mertens in camera here. I believe we've got a little bit of a look at his experience with the Zwift World Series so far. A little bit more about Martin.
Hi, my name is Martin Mertens. I'm 32 years old from Germany. I'm riding for the Cryo RDT team, and I'm a pretty punchy climber. Go deep and suffer. I want to build on my 2 individual wins from last year's Zwift Grand Prix and push my team in the top 3 of the team competition. I think it was winning last year on the Macon in Scotland pretty nice route. Biggest nemesis probably is Leonard Turgos, because he's so similar in riding style to me and I often miss beating him. Probably it's like this.
Hopefully we see one of those celebrations out here today. And we still have a little bit of a gap here. It's out to 8 seconds. The pack did get a little bit excited. It did look like Pim van Diem, as well as Ruben Dant, I believe it was, making a little bit of a move to try and get across. No, it was Mikkel Planthro, actually, excuse me, trying to get across. Nobody wanted to see that happen. A climber like Mikkel Planthro gets a free ride from a couple of riders like Vidar Mayo and James Barnes with some extra seconds. That could be game over for everybody. So that was quickly shut down by some of the other riders. And I believe it was even Movistar and Next who actually shut it down. They covered and killed so nobody could get across, John. And that's a really good tactic, isn't it, for racing?
Yeah, the Next Esports and Movistar Esports team now, they just need to mark everything in the group behind. Save as much energy, but they've got the advantage. They're on the front foot. They have a teammate up the road, and the gap slowly is sneaking out, up to nearly 12 seconds. Barnes and Mel working really well together at the front as well. And you can see it's Thomas Perrin, Next Esports. You can see the little helmet, the leader's helmet. He was at the front. But you can see the chase behind in the peloton. They're quite happy with those two, I think. I think you're not going to make a big effort now to try and bring them back. You almost just risk it and wait until the climb.
Yeah, we do see Jasper Paradines. Actually, look at this. This is going to be Jean-Michel Lachance making a move, 8 watts per kilogram off the front, looking to go across. That's a really risky move at this point, isn't it? To make this kind of a move right before the, well, it's not necessarily right before the grade, but the grade's about, I think, 5 minutes out tops at this point. You're really going into the red, and there's a lot of energy that's got to be reserved at this point. Now, trying to go across, that's going to be the thing, but I think as soon as that's covered, everyone's going to say enough is enough, because if you're not getting across, you're just dragging everybody with you, and you're going to be really thinking about energy reservation heading into that grade, I would think.
Yeah, the gap is too big to jump across in one move. It's all about the grade now. The riders behind really need to just think about almost where they need to be. The last chance to take a few deep breaths before the racing really kicks off. But you can see everyone's fighting for position, and almost it is coming down, now down to 10 seconds, but no one actually really chasing.
Yeah, and it looks like only doing 4 watts per kilogram at the front now, not working together quite as much. Maybe thinking, is this too much wasted? Kaminsky, though, interesting move here from Mikkel Kaminsky. Ramping things up toward the front, now to 0 watts per kilogram. Paniza over the top. These are guys who just want it to be hard racing from start to finish, it looks like. As Ricardo Paniza goes up to 7 watts per kilogram, actually, before we even hit the grade. God has the leaders in sight now as we look at Paniza here. Focused, 177 beats per minute coming from him. So as he looks to go across, Mikkel Kaminsky looks to grab his wheel. 8.6 watts per kilogram, just out of frame. I believe Pim van Diem is there. Hayden Pucker now right back on that wheel. I think things are pretty stretched out behind these riders now at this point as they're looking to try and close this gap before they even hit the grade. And man, that's going to really take the energy out of the sails. It's going to take the wind out of the sails here for, I think, James Barnes. And James Barnes, I think, can see the writing on the wall at this point. Brings it back to 1 watt per kilogram for a moment. Now just sitting on. They're getting more into a tempo as a couple of riders come across. Well, now there's a group forming here. They do have a little bit of a gap, actually. Hayden Pucker now driving the pace, but big questions start to get asked at this point. Do you even do any work before the grade because it's so close, or do you just trust your climbing ability?
If you trust your climbing ability, you almost want to gain those little bit of, even 2 seconds, 3 seconds can make such a difference by the time we get to the top of the climb or midway up the climb. But the problem is, if you're with anyone who you think is a better climber than you, you don't really want to ride with them because you know they're just going to either ride away from you and make you look silly when you get to the climb, and you almost just give them a free ride. 30 minutes of racing, pretty much into it now. And kind of see that as the group gets bigger at the front, riders start backing off, following each other and racing, and that almost just allows the peloton to all come back together. But you look at the gaps on the right-hand side, you can see it is really starting to stretch out as we get closer to the start of the grade KOM.
Yeah, and the catch is fully made here at this point. I think we're going to see a lot of riders really calm down. Well, and then they may be correcting me with their effort here because they're looking to fight for position. It's a tough one now at this point. You're so close to the grade. The catch is made. You want a good position. You don't want to be too far back. There's definitely the avatars on Zwift. They take up space, so you have to fight to get by them to get into that position. We may see a little bit of a ramp up here now at this point. Daniel Turek, watch out for this rider. I think he's hungry. He's going to want a really good result. We haven't seen him anywhere near to the front, actually. And now I think at this point, Turek is going to really start thinking about what he can do out here today. Quick little note. Holden, he's secured his Series Pass, but he needs to finish within the time cutoff out there today. So Holden still needs to do the work to make sure that he gets within the time cutoff. And if he does not, it does not count. So still plenty of work for Holden out there today with a lot of climbing in front of him. Probably going to look to find the autobus at the back, I would think here, John.
Yes, no rest for Holden. He did his job early on, but he's going to have to make sure he still makes a big effort. And the way the front group is grinding in the big peloton at speed, and we start the KOM, it's going to be a hard task to be out on your own and make sure you make the time cut.
Well, James Barnes, Ollie Jones, it looks like here to the front immediately. They're going to lead things out. Now, is Thomas Perrin going to do exactly what we saw him do in the qualifier? I'm already seeing the orange numbers popping. And does he just want to lead this from start to finish? We call it a bottom-to-top type effort. Or is there going to be sitting in? Vyazin responds quickly. It's going to be Daniel Turek as well. All of them up into the orange numbers. 8 watts per kilogram or so to start on the 8% section of the wall that is the grade up front. Now, again, there's initial section here. It's a straight up wall, and then it flattens out for just a little bit where some drafts and some tactics can take place, and then you get into the switchbacks. And on those switchbacks, we see it into the teens when it comes to the gradient on this grade. What are we going to see from them out here today? Are we going, I don't know, it's definitely going to be sub 10, I would think. How fast are they going to climb this thing as its parent leading things out?
To put it in perspective, in the qualifier, Perrin did it in 8 minutes 58. So you're thinking around similar again, just shy under 9 minutes. That's around 7 watts per kilo average for a 9-minute effort, which is, yeah, you're not hanging around, do you? There's no hiding. Whoever's got the legs today can make it over this climb. And you really see some of the best riders in Zwift putting it all out there.
Perrin, Next Esports, still leading things out the front. It's going to be Ollie Jones from Coalition. They're surrounded on side-by-side there, it looks like, by Abus, as it's going to be Van Elst and Paradines. Daniel Turek, also from Next Esports, the current leaders in the series, right there on the wheel of the Abus team. And then behind him, Lionel Vyazin, Martin Mertens also there, representing that Cryo RDT team, the only representative from Cryo RDT actually in the top 10 here at this point. Johan Noren also on the right-hand side of that pack, just at the bottom of your screen in the Swedish National Championships kit. The Golden Tron there of Kaminsky looking to make his way forward as well. Zhao Power here also just outside the top 10, but Perrin continues on at the front, pressing the issue, and it's going to be a little bit of separation with Van Elst, Ollie Jones, and Perrin trying to really make this hurt for the rest of the pack. At the back, Hayden Pucker suffering a little bit. Zach Muir as well. Some of these big names, are they waiting at this point, or is the pressure just that high? I have the feeling the pressure is just that high here, John.
Yeah, I think it's really just that high. You can see the group slowly. It's not just it hasn't been a massive explosion like you thought we could have seen. Everyone's kind of sitting at 7 watts per kilo, really just pushing the pace on behind, and you can see on that long shot the gaps are slowly just opening up. This is an awful feeling as well if you're around 15th and you can just see the riders in front of you, and the gap slowly just gets bigger and bigger. and you're absolutely on your limit. As we have a look, you can see Perrin looking quite controlled in the bottom of the screen, slowly backing off as we see a little bit of a time now where all the riders can take a few deep breaths, but you can see the group really has reduced in numbers.
Well, right at the back of this pack is going to be Ed Laverick. He's ramping up for the National Hill Climb Championships, actually. I've seen him release a couple of videos, actually, on his YouTube. Most likely live right now, actually. Laverick makes his way to the middle of the pack. Good to see the restart rider now. Daniel Turk also to the front. It's going to be Zach Neer controlling the front for Next Esports. It all slows down here as this is going to be your lead group, I believe. There's Ed Laverick. Great to see here. Just a solid little 6.6 now up into 400 watts. As they make their way into the second part of the grade. And this is when it really gets steep. And it only gets steeper and steeper as you go on through the switchbacks, actually. We start off at this 7%, then it bumps up into the 9 and the 10. And toward the end, you're talking to 12 to 13% gradients. And that's when the real power starts to kick in. Josh Harris now sitting right around 7th wheel. Great to see him out there for BL13. And then it's going to be at the back. Le Griffon, great to see him still representing out here today. 7 watts per kilogram coming in from him. And that's a FFC rider. Great to see. This is a new kid on the block, as I had said. He is one of these riders that's come up out of the community, represented. The rest of this pack is fairly experienced. I've seen almost every one of these names here, actually, at the front end of esports. But Le Gryffindor, as we've called him here, he's now making a name for himself. But can he hold on is going to be the big question. Lionel Viasen actually off the back a little bit. 5.3 gone full nuclear now at this point, I think. Viasen not able to hang on as he falls off the back of this pack.
Yeah, it's a bit of a shock there. Rugerson, he backed himself. You love his confidence. But this is the time now. The riders at the front, the likes of Perrin, who made it hard, Turek, this is the time now to really push on. We're up into 10% gradient. This is where their chance of winning the race comes. They need to make sure riders like Rugerson, Ed Laverack a distance here to give them a chance of going for victory in 20 kilometers time.
It's a good call there. And, the reality of how much time can they gain over the top of this climb, because a rider like Hayden Pucker gets with the group. I mean, this guy, he's not your pure climber, but he can climb well. He can throw out a solid, this 6 watts per kilogram plus. But the reality of a downhill and into the flats with this guy, if it's only 10 seconds or so, he can get with the group and close that down quickly. We saw it in the qualifier. Can he do it again? But Van Elst says enough is enough. Makes his way to the front here with Ollie Jones as well. And it's going to be Avis now at the front of this with Van Elst and Paradines making the real moves as it gets into the really steep parts of the grade. Up in the 9% now at this point. As we take a look here, this is going to be Hayden Pucker on Viasen's wheel here, trying to close this down. These two are probably going to start working together, but it's already gone out to what looks to be, is that 12, 11 seconds. This is how quickly things can open up, and it is actually going to be Le Griffin as well. But this is 3 riders that can bring this kind of time back. They're very experienced when it comes to downhill sections, and you can do a lot on a downhill here if there's some infighting with that main group up ahead. There's a lot of riders up ahead that might start looking at each other and say, I'm not going to do the work, you got to do the work. Whether or not that front group can work together to keep this gap is going to be a big question mark, because there's big names behind still on the chase.
Yeah, this front group, they have to go all out now. Everything they've got, they try to open that gap as big as they can. And of course, that group still at the front, still around 9 to 10 riders. So that's a lot of riders who it's almost too big, in my opinion. They're not going to want to work together to stay away. Group of 4, 5, you're all in it together. You're committed, and you try and go all the way to the line. As soon as it gets above 8 riders, there's enough space for people to sit on and recover. And then that just stops the whole momentum at the front. So it's all about now, in my opinion. The riders like Perrin, the strongest climbers that we know of, they need to make this move and really just have almost drag a small selection away to give them a chance to go in for the win.
Well, some big kicks at the front at this point with Ed Laverick and a few others. But Joe Perot, this is your current series leader. He's all the way back, actually, in 17th place, but he's making up some time here on some groups that are ahead. So he's really riding his race. Look at this. Van Els kicks at the end of this. After doing like almost 7 watts per kilogram for the climb at this point, he now kicks up into 8. Mikhail Kaminski now responds quickly up into 9 watts per kilogram. Thomas Perrin is right there for Next Esports. And this is the make it or break it moment. 11 watts per kilogram. Thomas Perrin, this is his wheelhouse. Martin Mertens responds. Kaminski still there. Van Elst is there. Turk just trying to drag his way back onto the wheel as they come up and over the top of this. Daniel Turk doing everything he can to get back on terms. Perrin now backs up. Perrin, though, took down that Preem. There was a Preem at the top of there. Apologies everybody not calling that out, but Thomas Perrin grabs the 500, it looks like, with 11 watts per kilogram as well as series pass, and I think that was everything he had. Perrin is now at 1.5 watts per kilogram. That's what he had showed up for. Now it's about the race win up the road. Jasper Perrin's looking to go across as he goes past Thomas Perrin. Look at Perrin. I mean, the suffering was so real for him, and that's what he had shown up for. Just like we saw with Holden Camus, that was his wheelhouse when it came to sprinting, and this is his wheelhouse when it comes to Thomas Perrin and Next Esports. They know what they're doing when it comes to climbing. But back to the front now, we've got the solid group, it looks like, of about 6 riders or so. Jasper Perrin's closed it down. It's going to be Van Elst. Now another rider coming back, Ollie Jones. And I have a feeling Ollie Jones will not want this to slow down, wants this to just keep on moving as Coalition gets back involved at the front.
And of course, we keep talking about how big and how important the grade climb was. We're still going up here. We still go up and down until the top of the Epic KOM, and then we descend from there. So the racing still is on. We're still at 7% gradient right now. It's again those little kickers. Everyone who watches, we know how tough the Epic KOM is and how the up and down little launch pads you can use. So there's still plenty of racing going on at the front, and that group now of around 10 riders are Preem, Perrin, 11 seconds down. He made a big effort, but I still think he'd be wanting that race victory. Surely you come here to come and win the race. He's going to have to make a bit of a move now for that selection. 10 riders at the front.
It's a tough one, isn't it, John? Because Perrin is kind of in no man's land. He's all alone at this point. Ed Laverick is chasing him down. Johan Noren is with him as well. So that's a group of 3 that could get together. And if there's some infighting up ahead, perhaps. But these guys they're hammering still. Jasper Perrin's still doing 6 watts per kilogram. It's a group of 10 at the front of some of the best esports riders in the world. Jasper Perrin, Daniel Turek, it's going to be Steven Van Elst, Mekko Plantherol, Ollie Jones, Jell Power, Stefan Kirchmer, Josh Harris, all in here. Big representation. As far as teams go out here, I believe Coalition have a pretty good setup here at this point. I believe they may have 3 in here if I'm not incorrect looking at this. So watch out for Coalition to be able to make some moves out here today.
And of course, they are sitting in 2nd place overall at the moment behind Next Esports. We all talked about Lionel Vujasin being their star rider, but he's not in that 3 who's made this front group of 10. You can see
Michael
these little
Kaminski
descents coming down. There's plenty of racing out here, and this group of 10 aren't hanging around, are they? Still, Kaminski goes to the front, 9 watts per kilo, flashes the orange numbers up, settles down to just a 7.3 watts per kilo.
You saw how
10,
Kaminski did that too, didn't you, John?
Yeah, and the way he used the speed from the descent to really open himself up and accelerate at the right time. Almost, it made it harder for everyone else in that group. He had the easiest ride of such, really, because he used the descent, the speed, and then really lit it up. And he's here now. You can see he just dropped to the back of that group where everyone else was panicking, chasing him.
Looks like between the riders, excuse me on that, it's actually going to be 2 riders for Coalition that are going to be here. And then it's going to be for Abus, Van Alst, and what looks to be Jasper Paradines. Next Esports only with Daniel Turk. So the current series leaders missing out a little bit in this top 10. This is a really big moment for the team competition, actually, when it comes to the Belgian team, actually. They're going to be able to maybe pull something off here for Abus Synergy, as they've got 2 riders up here. If they are able to get a solid result, and the towel and for Stefan Kirchmer here, and a whole, that looks like it's pretty hot in there as well. Hopefully he's got plenty of fans going on at 186 beats per minute. Stefan Kirchmer now looks to round out this climb, and this will be the end of the climb as they come up to the top. And it looks like instead of any kind of serious kick, while I may be wrong here, we're seeing Daniel Turek now perhaps looking to try and break things up as he kicks up into 7 watts per kilogram. And we saw this in the qualifier as well as in the Zwift Racing League this past a couple of weeks ago when we went up and over the top of this same section of course. The downhills have a very dangerous ability to get away out here, and I think that's what Turk perhaps was looking to try and do. If you get a little bit of separation out here, you can get away, and that's exactly what Plantaru looks to do here as he kicks up into 10 watts per kilogram, comes flying by and looks to get those speeds high.
Yeah, get to the front. Don't put yourself in any danger. You can see with a group of 10 though, everyone is aware of it. Seems like it's a small enough group that everyone knows about. There's a few, the drafting power up used, only 1 given out on today's round. So there is some time. This is the perfect time to use it if you're struggling. Make sure you hold onto the wheel. But it was Harris, you can see. Taking a bit of a break now into the super tuck.
This is a really smart rider, very savvy rider. He's already got 1 second. I have a feeling that Josh Harris wants to put it to the rest of this pack here now at this point. He knows that they've got to put in just about as much work as he does if he times these kicks just perfectly. Gets in over that 57 kilometers per hour and into that super tuck. He's trying to split this apart. He knows that some of the riders behind may be suffering. They've burned a lot of matches back there, and they've got to put in some good work to bring this back while he gets into these good super tucks. Perfect timing from him. Kaminsky comes to him. Plantarol now comes to him as well, as you can see. Nicely done, as it looks like Martin Martins and Jasper Paradines. Now, if they can all get together without that group behind catching, but it looks like the catch is going to be made behind here. Now with this kick, though, this is going to be a crucial moment. They're going to see massive orange numbers up into 11, 12% gradient as Josh Harris leads this out. Gel Power, Ollie Jones up into 12 watts per kilogram. Massive kick from Daniel Turek, actually. Turek is flying by this effort here now, and is there anybody that's going to fall off as he looks to get into this downhill super tuck? This is going to be Mikhail Kaminsky currently with the virtual leaderboard out on course right now as things stand. Daniel Turek there is second. It's going to be Alan Jones, Joe Perot. So right now, this is how things are as things stand out on course. It'll change as we go along, but interesting to see Mikhail Kaminsky here in a really good place to take over that individual classification. We know he's got a good kick on him as well for the sprint.
Yeah, he's one of the fastest riders in this group of 10, but he's the rider who's pushing on. There's Plantaru now. A small little gap, 1.2 seconds, but with only 12.8 kilometers left of racing, this race is going to fly by now. Down this descent, onto the flat roads. The next key point in my idea, the attacks can be launched as we go through the volcano. And this is the next opportunity, the big launch pad for these riders to almost break everything up.
Look out to the front here as he takes over. To notice as well, Johan Noren is only 14 seconds back, but these riders are not just looking at each other, they are in full-on brawl mode. But Johan Noren passed all of the chasers, and on the downhill brought back massive time. He might perhaps catch some riders who fall off of this, but Daniel Turek, it looks like he's all in at this point, John.
Yeah, that was the key move. They started now, when we get into the volcano, this is the last chance for those late attacks. We're under 5 kilometers to go now. This group of 10 put in that hard work on the climb, up the grade, and then over the top of the epic KOM. But that group of 10 now slowly waiting. Who is going to make the first move, the first big orange number attack?
Josh Harris now, 6.6 watts per kilogram here coming from him actually, and he's trying to get away as well. There's a lot of riders in here who do not want to sprint. There's so many riders in here that are like, we need to get away from Mikhail Kaminsky. We need to get away from GL Power. Both of those riders have a solid kick. Ollie Jones has a good kick on him as well. You're seeing it from the likes, though, of Josh Harris. He's got a good kick, but up against some of these other riders, not necessarily something that he just wants to sit in around. As well as Mikhail Palanthro. He's a rider who's most likely going to be in the bottom half of this top 10 if it's not just a sprint of attrition. It's just a full-on gallop from 300 meters or so. Now, Kirchmeier making a little bit of... Kirchmeier also another rider to watch out for a sprint. There's some good sprinters in here who are just covering and killing. And the question is, as you start to see riders just covering and killing these moves, you start to get an idea of who's sitting in and just wants to make sure the pack sits together, and those who want this to break apart.
Yeah, and of course, we talk about these riders not being the best sprinters, those big sprinters that we always know and so much about, but a group of 10, it's a different sprint, to be honest. It really is different. After a tough race, 59 minutes of racing already, we've gone up the grade, the selection, over 7 watts per kilo, the average, to make this front group of 10. But as we go through the volcano now, just like you said, Turek making a move again over the top. Is this his do or die effort? 3.4 kilometers to go.
The best situation here, actually, for Turek is most likely a rider like Planthro getting on his wheel. Planthro, though, backs off. He doesn't even have it, it looks like, at this point. He goes to 3.4 watts per kilogram, and now Turek here, has he broken the group? Parroting says, nope, not going to let this go. Ollie Jones right back on the wheel, and perhaps that was Mikkel saying, enough is enough. I'm not doing all the work here. Somebody else come across, and just that happened here. Now all calm down. Now Planthro actually at the back. Has he been completely broken by this pack? No, he's still at 7 watts per kilogram. Interesting enough, behind, there's a battle for 11th place currently going on. Johan Noren, it looks like he may be caught by Ed Laverick. We're not sure here at this point. And behind that, Joe Perot, Zach Neer, Lionel Viasen, Thomas Paris, Joe Lewis, all in a group as well. So lots of action behind this as well. But Planthro, I was wrong. He went from back to front, up and over the top, takes the speed in the roll through as he saw them all calm down. Perfect Zwiftcraft.
Perfectly timed here. 2.5 kilometers to go. He's got to get everything out. 8.9 watts per kilo. Dropping holding at that 6 watts per kilo. 343 watts though. You go through the tunnel. You make a bit more of a drag. You make the left-hand turn and then you're down towards downtown. But now we finally see Michael Kaminski, the Polish champion, go into the front of this group. Is he slowly just trying to bring everyone back together? And it looks like, again, this group comes back together. No one's strong enough to really break this elastic.
He almost did it. It was so close. At one point, it was 20 meters and it was holding. Ollie Jones, though, he's been so quiet up to this point. I saw 6 from him for a moment. Daniel Turek looks to go again. Turek up and over the top, 8.3 watts per kilogram. They're starting to sense that the riders are getting tired. Kaminski kicks at 10 around the corner. Now, this section's an interesting section. We're coming into 1.8 kilometers to go. This downtown roll into... They're going to go across the banner, but it's not the finish. The actual finish is past the traditional banner. They're going to keep going for a little bit and take a left-hand turn onto Ocean Boulevard, and then it's about 300 meters for there. Turek tried to make it happen onto the downhill. They've got 1 second, Turek and Kaminski. I'm surprised that Kaminski doesn't roll over the top, but I think he knows that from behind, Van Alst, Harris, Planthro are going to take the roll through speed. Everybody's just anticipating perhaps that, or maybe at this point they know it's a heads-up sprint.
Yeah, it looks like it's going to come down in this group of 10. Ollie Jones, perfectly ridden so far. I'm backing him with a K to go. We haven't mentioned his name, and that's always a really good sign. This is the original finish. Everyone still thinking we need to launch. Nope, still a kilometer to go. Is there going to be a late attack? K to go, come on. There's got to be more racing. It is. Planthro makes a move. Who's going to be one? Who's going to want to shut that down with only 800 meters to go?
Nobody's responding. He's gone. He's got 2 seconds. It's 7.7 watts per kilogram at this point. Everybody says enough is enough. He uses his drafting power up. What's that going to do? I mean, he's doing something, looking for something to work for him here at this point. 6.5 watts per kilogram. I think Mikkel has done this. We've seen him do it before. We saw him do it in London. Ollie Jones now starts to ramp things up, though. And perhaps Ollie Jones, with a teammate out there from Coalition, says, okay, we've got to ramp this up at 6 seconds, though, with a downhill sprint. I'm not sure that they're going to close this down. Lots of draft power-ups. Those are a little bit early, actually. Van Alst now opens up, knowing that it's now or never to bring back Planthro. But Planthro, it looks like, may have done it. It's downhill to a finish line. Mikkel, Stephen Kirchmer, though, kicking up into 14 watts per kilogram. They've got him within sights. It's only 157 meters for the win, and I think Mikkel has done it. Mikkel Planthro has pulled off what seemed to be the impossible. The win goes to Hexagon. Mikkel Kaminski for second. What a move. The race of attrition pulled it off. Mikkel Planthro, Hexagon. That's amazing.
What a move. Time to perfection. We were waiting, weren't we? We were waiting for that perfectly timed attack. And Mikhail, what a move. 800 meters to go. He got the gap. He used that draft power up to everything he could. Wasn't making much difference when he's all on his own. But what a move. Finishing off 1.5 seconds to Kaminski. Yeah, a brilliant brilliant, well-deserved win from Planterer.
Ed Laverick looking to come across the line in just a moment. Johan Noren just ahead of him, finishing out in 11th place. Ed Laverick, solid job by him, going to be finishing out in 12th. This is for the top 20 or so, maybe top even 15, and it's going to be Joe Perot, your current series leader, sprinting it out there. Perot trying to come across the line ahead of Perrin, but Perrin going to take it down, it looks like, for that group. Behind him, it's going to be Joe Lewis rolling across the line, and it looks like with nothing left in the legs. Nicky Hug, Johannes Kading, and then Severa there, it looks like Nicola. Hayden Pucker in 22nd. It's going to be Ben Muir in 23rd. Arnie Jacobs here now rolling through in 24th. I think Marcus Duvall perhaps at the front of this group, perhaps, or just a little ways up from this. Actually just going to cross the finish line solo for Next Esports, but that's some good team points, isn't it, John?
Yeah, and it is all about the team, so it'd be interesting to see when we get all the stats. They'll be working flat out, trying to figure out who's scored the most points. But what a race that was. You can see the damage that was done on the grade KOM, which is groups, small groups coming in. We started with 99 riders all together, and now in groups of 7, 8, here, there, and everywhere, all over the road of Watopia.
Peniza trying to pull off also the sprint of attrition, unable to do so, gets overtaken by the group, and it will be Kayan, followed up by Freyet, Junso Honda, Jeffrey Moror, and then Matthew DeCook. Just there, Andrew Buffington coming across the line. We saw some early moves from him, getting a top 30 result, among best in the world, as looks like Moritz Ritter and Jerry Erickson here battling it out for your top 40. Now, just a reminder, everybody, an hour 20 is the cutoff for anyone in this race to get a result. And so, Holden Camus is somewhere out on course looking to have that finish up within that cutoff. So, we'll be watching for that as the show goes on out here today. As it's going to be a tight, I'm wondering if it's going to be a tight one, John, because the reality is this is a tough course. But I think a rider like Holden, most likely will find some support out there for some of the other riders to finish that up within the time cut.
Yeah, and it's almost just making sure it's a consistent effort for Holden Camara towards the back. It's almost riding within himself on the grade KOM. You do what you can, and then for the rest of the course, then you're trying to ride at zone 3, zone 4, just to make sure you're right in your place and limit your time loss wherever you can. Because obviously when you're on your own, compared with a big group, even that group of 10 at the front, the speed that a group goes is so much faster than a solo rider.
Well, your top 60 have come across the line, out to 63 now. Daniel Benedetti is going to be the next, followed by Alexander Gagnon. Niall Beatty, good to see him out there as well for restart, coming across the line. And then we do have, there's still plenty of points to be scored for the riders, for the teams as well, as we do take a look here at Benjamin Brignall. Rolling on in David Kowalski just behind him, about 10 seconds back, but I think that Benjamin's going to pull this off. Jacob Bjorklund, Christopher Anderson, and Jean-Michel Lachance. We saw him early on making some moves, and he's going to be coming in. You can see the level, though, that's at the front, the 5-minute gap to be out from here. But, you know, a lot of these riders here, this may not be their wheelhouse. It may not be their talent when it comes to the Zwift World Series. This is definitely a climber's forte out here, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. You can see the best climbers came to the front, 10 of the best in the world, and they made that race so difficult for everyone else behind, especially one of those tough days. It's almost in a way, when you're really off the pace, if you're 5 minutes down, you know that it wasn't a massive issue. You're not too disappointed with yourself. But when you're a minute or so behind, and you think, oh, maybe I could have just squeezed a little bit more out, made sure I made that split, you're almost kicking yourself all the way to the finish.
That the way that things really popped off, you know, from the get-go, I was a little bit surprised, actually, John, that right from the get-go, we saw 6 watts per kilogram, 7 watts per kilogram, and then, but, you know, the risks that we saw them taking out there, it kind of made sense now that the race is over. You can see why some of these riders wanted to try and get that gap initially. But there's also the reality that this is a situation where you can individually qualify for the Zwift World Series, but there's teams that are trying to get riders qualified so that they can play those team tactics out. And if you do get riders qualified, it gives you a pretty big advantage here as a team, doesn't it?
Exactly. You want to make it as hard as possible for all your other competitors. Some riders might have just been out here to make it as difficult all the way into the grade KOM. Didn't care about anything else. They just needed to get there, make it as fast and aggressive as possible, and then the rest, leave your climbers to the hard work on the climb. But you saw how exciting it was early on. Riders weren't hanging around. No one was scared of what was coming up, and that made such a big difference to why we had such a fast race today.
Well, I think we do have results. Let's go ahead and take a look at this, and it is going to be Miguel Planthero pulls it off with, I think it was about a K to go that he made that move. Nobody responded, takes the win in 1 hour and 3 minutes and 42 seconds. And then it's going to be Mikhail Kaminsky with the sprint for the group for the minor placings. Martin Mertens followed up by Josh Harris. Nice result there for Josh, and Ollie Jones in 5th. Jasper Perrins in 6th, followed up by Stephen Kurtzmer, Daniel Turek, Stefan Van Elst, and Gel Power. That is your top 10. Prize money today does run down through the top 10.
Couldn't have been any better. A group of 10 that went up the road, made that selection. You can see how good they are all there. Turek, the leader, team leader for Next Esports. Then you can see the group behind. Noren in 11th place, and he was 41 seconds down. That selection of 10 riders is huge. Ed Lavrak in 12th. And then the sprint from a group for Lionel Vujason, Thomas Perrin, Joe Perrott, our series leader coming into today. Zach Neer in 16th, Joel Lewis 17th, Nicky Hug in 18th. Creeding in 19th, and finishing up the top 20 is Legrafon. But 3 of Next Esports there, 14th, 16th, and 18th. One rider, Torek, in the top 10. Is that enough for them to hold on in the overall?
And here's the podium places there. Mikhail Planthero, followed up by Mikhail Kaminsky and Martin Mertens. That's your top 3. The preems there, nicely done. We saw Holden, the perfect sprint, pulled off, didn't touch the front, and then taking down that preem as well as getting his series pass. Joe Chudik there in 2nd, followed up by Ruben Daunt. Thomas Perrin taking down the grade with 11 watt per kilogram kick up and over the top of that KOM. Well done to Next Esports with that. Martin Mertens taking 2nd over the top of there, and Mikhail Kaminsky taking 3rd for the preem number 2. Well done to all the racers out there. And some series passes being handed out as Thomas Perrin and Holden Camus are able to grab those. And then the top 10 as well, as everybody knows, will get the prize money as well as series passes. John, that was, the setup for the grade definitely was what it was all about, and it did not disappoint. The times and the pressure that was put on, those top 10 really showed that this is where they shine.
Yeah, it really was. And it kind of just made it show. The only rider really that missed from that, if we're honest, is Thomas Perrin. He won the preem to the top of the grade KOM and then almost just did everything for that and went out the back, which was a bit of a shock, really. It could have been a group of 11 and it was down to a group of 10. You see, catching up on a bit of our highlights, this is where the group was all together, riders trying to make those moves on the descent.
Yeah, we did see Josh Harris making a solid move early on to try and get away. I think he was definitely one of the riders who wanted to make a move like Mikhail Kaminsky, and as well as Planthero. Planthero on the kick here. Well done here by him over and over again. This is so interesting from Planthero. Planthero over and over again, nonstop, once we hit this section of course. As soon as we were on the bottom half of that that climb, that descent, and then into the marina and all the way to the volcano. It was over and over again into the orange numbers. He did not give up on his plan, executed perfectly, and it was not until everybody was saving for their sprint. It really is that moment when you know, John, that everybody's thinking about what's coming next where they have to save for it. That's when you can go. And it was almost like mind reading, isn't it, John? To know this is the moment that everyone's going to be thinking about saving as much as they can. Now is when I'm going to go because I can't save for when they are.
Yeah, it's almost just all that timing. Being patient when you really want to just make a move. And patience is key. In a group of 10 like we had, Mikel really did it well, though. He made attacks. He made it hard for the rest of that group throughout. He knew he wasn't the best sprinter. And hats off to him. He was able to make the move perfectly timed at the end. But he definitely tried before that to make sure everyone was softened up. Maybe it was one of those ones. You keep making those moves, and the other riders bring you back, and they think, we can get him. We can control this. We don't need to worry about him. Every time he makes a move, we can bring him back. And then you go all in at the end, just the same as Mikel did. 800 meters to go. But you can see the moves. Harris making a few as we came through the volcano. You always do have to remember how difficult this race was before they get to this point, though. Everyone was absolutely on the limit. It's so hard to make a big move to take the win.
Yeah, and one thing I definitely want to highlight as well here is Kaminsky sitting and waiting, as well as Paradines and Van Elst. I think Gel Power as well. I think that their plan was to wait for the sprint. We didn't see them making a whole lot of moves. It was cover and kill, and I think they were trusting for their... And what happens, though, when someone gets away, like what we saw from Planthero here, is it kind of disrupts it a little bit, and somebody has to go earlier than they wanted to, and I think that's exactly what we saw from Van Elst. He ended up being a lead-out man for the rest of the pack, rather than being able to just execute his sprint the way that he wanted to. Mikel Planthero put a whole lot of disruption in that, and rather than even bringing him back, actually, you end up pulling the whole pack, so it was kind of like the timing was just not quite there for when to bring it back or even when to go because of the disruption of that winning move from Planthero.
It was a perfectly timed attack. You could see we're getting some images of how hard it was and how difficult it was, but the elation when you pull that off. 800 meters to go, he kind of just slipped away, got that gap and thought, maybe when you get there, I've got 2 seconds. Oh no, I'm going to have to actually commit and go all the way to the finish. And that's exactly what he did. Brilliant end to a brilliant race. And that group of 10, again, hats off to them. They made the race today, and Planthero, a well-deserved winner.
Love to see that celebration. And I think we're going to have a little bit more celebration. Let's go back to OJ, as I believe he's going to be in with our winner, Mikel Planthero from Hexagon.
I believe we are as well. Fantastic race, beautifully called. Thank you, boys. And Mikel, I know English you're not the best with, but we're excited to have this chat right now. So first off, congratulations. A great win for you. How hard was it, that entire race, up the grade and then down the other side, and that pack of 10 coming up to the line?
Yep. I am very happy to win tonight because the last race, I'm not here because I had the COVID, and tonight my goal was to win because I love this race with the grad. It's a long climb when I affect, and I am very happy to win. My goal is to attack on the downhill because the super turk is so bad, and on the finish line, I am very, very bad on the sprint, and my goal was to attack on the last kilometer, and I keep my power up, and it's the last 200 meters was very, very difficult, but I am very, very happy.
Mikel, I have to say your English is pretty darn good, almost as good as that sprint at the end. when you went with 800 meters to go, did you feel there would be a stronger reaction from the other riders? Because to start off with, as Nathan and John were saying, they let you slip away.
Yep, tonight there are strong guys, and with Kaminski, Ollie Jones, and I love Zwift, but the Sunday I do the my whoosh, and my whoosh is very very hard. And when I race on Zwift, for me it's very very more easy. But yes, tonight I am very happy to win.
Did you feel there'd be more attacks on the grade? Because you all stayed together, you know, that group of 10 going over the top. We thought maybe somebody would be able to get away, and it just didn't happen.
Yep, on the top of the grade, I am very, very on the hard. We are 10 guys with Kaminski, Jones, and Co. And on the top of bottom, I am 5 seconds behind the 4 guys, and I'm not stressed because I know it's possible to coming on the front, and on the finish line I am very very good legs, and I try to a lot of attacks for use my for Tyron, my companion, and I am very very happy.
Yeah, I mean, it was a great race to watch. I mean, anything that goes up the grade, we know it's going to be exciting, and it was absolutely that as well. And just a word as well about your celebration. We saw you cross the line, and you know, it was hands in the air, it was cheering. We can see you're in a barn right now, it seems. How loud were you in the room when you won?
Yep, I am very happy to win tonight because in this moment, I am very, very on the hard. I had the COVID. There are 1 month, and there are 2 weeks. It was complicated for me to push. And tonight it's a celebration when for my victory. But finish. Tonight, finish alone. Yes, alone. It's. I am very, very happy. And my aim is not to finish with the group because it's sure I finish 10th.
Yeah, the best sprint you can win is the sprint you're in on your own. Michael, I've been racking my brain for my GCSE French to congratulate you, and all I can think of is bon. Congratulations.
Thanks.
Fabulous win. Fabulous win. And there you go. That is your winner of this first race of the Zwift World Series round 2. The men's race is done. Congratulations to Michael Plantereau. The Preems as well, won by Holden Camus, the first one, who then had to hold on for another 35 kilometres. Massive effort to get over the line, and then he held on. And then Preem 2 run by Thomas Perrin. Both of those getting themselves passes for the rest of the series. John and Nathan, I mean, it was a great race to watch. Did you think, I mean, I asked to Michael there, did you think there was a chance that it was going to break up on the grade? Because it just didn't seem to happen. We thought it was going to go, and it just never did.
I thought it was going to break down. I don't know about John, but I didn't think we were going to have 10 over the top. Obviously, we now have a level, though, that we've never seen before. A lot of times we'd see 2, 3, maybe 5 riders, but now at this point, it really speaks to each team having a specialization, doesn't it, John, when you see a group like that over that kind of a climb?
Yeah, it really was. And it's 10 quality riders. It's the best climbers we have in Zwift. They all got there. It was almost one of those climbs. The grade is so difficult and so hard that you do just ride at your max capability from the bottom all the way to the top. There isn't much chance for tactics to come into it. You can't really back off, make an early move, make an early attack. You saw Perrin from the bottom really at 7 watts per kilo plus from the bottom all the way to the top. And it showed the quality, and it was a deserving top 10. We talk about prize money only going down to the top 10. It couldn't have worked out any better. Our 10 riders made the race today, and then that attack towards the end from Michael Plantereau, who it's a quality race and a quality field. And again, 10 riders, perfect timing, putting everything on the line, and it was a brilliant race to watch.
One thing also to highlight, I think, there was the riders who are making moves similar to what Planthero was doing. You know, they were, I think, in the same mindset as him. Josh Harris, although Josh Harris still had a pretty good kick on him, you know, I think his last move was before the volcano action. I think at that point he had calmed things down and was able to pull off a 4th place. But Daniel Turk also making big moves like that, as we saw, and ends up all the way back in 8th place. Let's go ahead and take a look, though. This is your top 10 currently. Mikhail Kaminsky, Sebastian Jones, followed up by Joe Perot for your top 3 in the individual classification for the overall. Again, there is an overall series throughout the entirety of the Zwift World Series. Stephen Kirchmer rounds out your top 4, Dan Turk, and then it's going to be Jasper Paradines, Martin Meritens, Johannes Rendrup-Kading, followed up by Nicky Hug and Jeffrey Milor. So that's your top 10 for the individual classification. For the teams, though, it is on. Only a 3-point separation on these totals after 2 rounds. Coalition take over. Well done by Coalition. Next Esports dropped to 2nd place. Avis Synergy there dropped down to 3rd place, as they were, I believe, in 2nd there. Oh, no, excuse me. They hold on to their 3rd place. It's going to be Restart presented by Alex Coe there in 4th. Team Swedish Zwifters in 5th. Movistar E-Team 6th. Hexagon solid there in 7th, really being let out there by Mikhail Planthero. Wahoo Esports 8th, Cryo RDT in 9th, BL13 in 10th. Let's go back on over to OJ as we get ready for the ladies.
Thank you so much. Just shows you how tight it is at the top of the team, and also in the individuals as well. It goes to show you winning is great, and winning is something you absolutely want to do, but being consistent when you talk about an overall championship, that's where you need to be. You can see his best. And what that does is it wraps our coverage of the men's race. Now, before we head into the women's race, they are starting to warm up right now. We have got a treat for you, because during the Zwift World Series, we want you to get to know the riders behind the avatars. That's what this is about. We want you to see great racing. We want you to know about the riders as well. So what we've done is we've asked them some taxing questions. I may or may not have been part of these questions.
Some kind of peanut butter mixed with chocolate. So a little crunchy, but a little sweet as well.
Pasta, because it's hard in the beginning, but if you give it some time, it becomes soft and very likable, I think.
A pretzel, because I'm a yoga teacher and can bend myself in many different directions.
I think pasta would describe me quite well. It would be Hatter.
Lord of the Rings.
Oh, that's The Departed for sure.
Top Gun. I've seen it at least 17 times.
So my favorite movie is actually serial, and it's Family Guy.
Harry Potter.
So the worst advice I've ever been given is to do mechanical work on my own bike. Clearly they don't know my mechanical skills.
You will never win.
I can't remember any worst advice. I only have good people around me, so they only give me good advices.
I try not to listen to bad advice. I try to focus on the good one.
I can't remember the worst advice because I probably just let it go in one ear and then out the other.
I like to be a tiger.
Lone wolf. I like to be alone, so yeah. A lone wolf.
I think a wolf.
My soul animal is definitely the wolf.
I will probably be a horse. Like one of those cute ones with long fur and short legs.
I don't know. I guess maybe some sort of long distance challenge, but I'm not entirely sure what yet.
That's probably the world record in the pole vault that was broken in the Olympics this year. Just dreaming of flying that high and breaking a record is incredible.
The full Ironman.
I don't know why I want to say hot dog eating. I'm sure there's a world record for that. And I don't know why it's the first thing that pops into my head, but I'd like to hold the world record for how many hot dogs you can eat, like in an hour or something.
I think to live in Switzerland because it's very beautiful to cycle.
That every race finishes on a climb that's at least 20 minutes with a pretty consistent gradient, ideally around 6%. Very specific.
Oh, that one's easy. If the genie could just flatten off the entire Watopia and just turn it into one flat land, that'd be great.
I want to treat legs with Pogacar.
I definitely need more wishes. So if I only have one, more wishes.
Yeah, I've just Googled the hot dog eating world record. And just so you know, Joey Chestnut holds the world record for eating the most hot dogs in 10 minutes. 83. There you go. Maybe we can set that up as a challenge at some point. Now, let's move into the women's race. And what we need to do is find out what happened after race one. And we'll do that by taking a look at the individual and team classifications after the first race in Richmond. Nathan.
And the top 20, as you can see, Catherine Furr, Gabby Guerra, and Lou Bates. They're your top 3 right now. Be on the watch out for Mika Soderstrom to be a threat out there today, as well as Liz Van Houwen and Ariel Verhaeren. Kristen Kolczynski, though, a climbing course. Somebody who's going to want to get away, reigning national championship of champion of the USA. So that's your individual classification. For the teams, I believe we are going to have those up here in just a second. It's going to be Aeonian at 212, 10 points behind the Coalition, followed up by Wahoo Esports, Cryo RDT, Hexagon, Movistar ET, Cyrus Esports, Abus Synergy, Next Esports, presented by Insured, with the pickup no other than Lucy Charles Barkley, who's going to be scoring them some points perhaps, and Beast Mode, presented by Rose. That's your top 10 for the team classification.
Again, it's super tight after that first round. And after last week's race, there's now a total of 27 women with Series Pass riders in today's elite race. These Series Pass races are formed of 24 riders from the top 8 teams who placed the highest in last year's Zwift Grand Prix, and 3 riders who earned the Series Passes in Elite Race 1, 2 who finished in the top 10 at the finish line, and 1 who won a Prime. So let's see what some of these Series Pass riders have to say about today's route.
Cecilia Hansen. I'm from Sweden. I'm 43 years old. I race for Aeonian race team.
Hi, I'm Jen Reel. I'm 45 from the USA. I ride for Cyrus Esports.
Hi, my name is Jenny Ek. I'm 38 years old. I'm Finnish and I'm riding for Cryo RDT.
Hey, my name is Catherine Furr. I'm from Switzerland. I ride for Aeonian racing team.
Lisa Hermansson. I'm 40 years old. I'm Swedish. My team is Movistar ET.
Hello, my name is Mika Soderstrom. I'm 25 years old. I'm from Sweden and I race with Wahoo Esports.
I am Tilly Field. I am 31 years old. I think I'm 31. I am Australian. I ride for Movistar.
My name is Marine Moget. I'm 26 years old. I'm French and I be part of the team Hexagon.
I'm Gökçe Paul. I'm 25 years old and I live in Germany. I'm riding for team Coalition Alpha.
Incredibly hard.
FTP test.
Fast and climby.
Punchy and spicy.
Pain party.
Relentless.
I only have one, which is painful.
Strategic and interesting.
Prime.
Always a race win.
Race win.
Prime on this one.
Race win.
Oh, winning the race.
Catherine Kolczynski. Catherine Furr. She's on my team.
Gabby Guerra.
Kristen Kolczynski.
It's all depending on the legs of the day. But favorites, there are so many favorites, so I hope I'm one of them.
Catherine Furr.
Haley, Olisa, and Manson.
Gabby Guerra.
Kristen Kolczynski, I would say.
Twice, I think.
0.
I think I've done it maybe more than or less than 10 times.
About 5 times?
4. This is going to be my first experience of pain on the grade.
Less than 10.
I never ride the grade.
You don't want to see that.
Painful, punchy and spicy, the grade beckons. First, though, somebody who has lined up on the start line today is the 2023 Ironman World Champion. This is Lucy Charles Barkley. She's actually released a video, Nathan, hasn't she, about getting into the Open Qualifiers for Race 2?
Yeah, 100% OJ, and it was an awesome video. It showed her whole race day preparation, the race itself, and afterwards. And actually, it was a bit of a how-to video of any women interested in elite racing. We need to remember all the steps these athletes go through beyond the race itself, including the pre-verification baselines, getting the perfect setup, dual recording with a power meter, submitting weigh-in videos, submitting all the data post the race to an independent performance verification team, and even all the messages and info from Zwift. It's really a lot. Her video shows it all, and it's awesome. You should go check it out on YouTube. I absolutely enjoyed it. Can't wait to see how she gets on today, though, with the creme de la creme of our esports women, because I think they're just taking off, OJ.
Yeah, why don't I have a pain cave like that? That's amazing. I want one. So our second act is underway, our second race. The women are ready to go around this course. Some of them never taken on the grade before. Let's hand you over to the commentary team of two guys who definitely could do 90 hot dogs in 10 minutes. It's John and Nathan first.
Here we go, John, another race in front of us, and it's going to be the ladies as they take off from the piers in Watopia. The best esports racers in the world about to take on the peak performance course out here. Going to be an interesting one, that's for sure.
Yeah, of course, we go straight into it. Of course, the key points we have to remember are the woodland sprint. If you pass that, you will automatic series pass for the rest of the series. So is it going to be similar to the men's race? Is it going to be a flat out start, making sure they're in the right place and ready? 55 riders on the start today, 46.3 kilometers to go as we get to it. When they do hit the grade, the pace is going to go through the roof, and it's going to be a massive selection. Who's going to be able to hold on to those big riders we just talked about in that preview? You can see now, not many orange numbers going on, Nathan. Everyone's kind of settling in, getting into their rhythm.
Yeah, and it's pretty quiet out here. I think we're going to get a little bit of a different race out here up front, as the ladies are going to be looking forward to that first series pass that they can get at the first preem at the Woodland Sprint. Most likely as things do head uphill, though, into Titans Grove. That's the first place I think we're going to look forward to for anybody trying to make any kind of serious moves. Just a little bit of a reminder to everybody on the right-hand side, as you see that WS next to the names for the icons, they do have the series passes, as well as you'll see a little helmet next to their to some names. Those are going to be the current leading team. That's going to be Aeonian that will have that right now, as you'll see it next to Catherine Furr and a few of the other Aeonian ladies as they make their way over toward Tempest Fugit, but they're not going to go straight onto Tempest Fugit. They're going to be taking a right-hand turn into Titans Grove. It sounds like, though, that we are going to go and take a look at Kristen Kolczynski. I think there was a little bit of chat with her about what she's been up to with ZZWS.
My name is Kristen Kolczynski, and I'm 43 years old, and I'm from the United States of America, and I race for Team 2024. I'm always down for everything, whether it's a course that suits me or not. I'm always going to bring my 100% and do what the team needs me to, or whether it's a great race for me. Hopefully the team surrounds me, but I'm always game for everything. My goals for the Zwift season this year would be to win. Have some great, there's some courses that I definitely have looked at and I think would be really cool to win. My favorite Zwift victory would have been my first one a few years back. It was just so magical to, always be so close, and just that day, like everything, all the puzzle pieces kind of gelled together, and I came out with my first win. I would have to say my biggest nemesis or rival would have to be my own self. Whether I'm celebrating a team win or a personal win, or I'm just celebrating the fact that I raced that day, it's definitely going to be a champagne and pizza evening.
It's always the recovery for Kristen is the pizza. I think she orders, we have an ongoing joke that she orders the pizza during the win or right after from the phone in order to get it there as quick as possible. So we'll see how Kristen goes today. It's definitely a course that suits her, John, as she is one of the best climbers in the world.
Yeah, it definitely does. A course that suits her. Reminds me of the pizza. I had a friend who used to do the same. He used to order a pizza at the exact point on his ride home, and he timed it so well that when he'd turn up at his front door, the pizza would get delivered at the same time. So maybe that's what Kolczynski's doing. 10k to go, pick up the phone. Right, pizza's on its way. So maybe that's the secret. Maybe that is the secret. Champagne and pizza. Sounds good to me.
Just a little bit of a reminder to everybody out there as we get the ladies out on course. For the Zwift World Series, there is a dashboard that Zwift has developed with a handy website for fans that has all the information you need to know about the race. It also links to live data dashboard for fans, which will help you follow all the action in even more detail. The website can be found at ZwiftWorldSeries.com, and the link to it is also pinned in the YouTube chat on the live stream. Today in the rider dashboard, you'll be able to see groups on the road in the left-hand column. A group will start when there is a gap of 3 or more seconds. For each group, you can see the number of riders in that group and the average speed in watts per kilogram of all the riders in the group. You'll also be able to see the time gaps and distance on the road between each group. In the middle column and right columns, you'll be able to follow your favorite riders and all their stats. You can use the arrows at the bottom to toggle through all the riders in the field. This will allow you to follow your favorite rider in detail throughout the race. And just a reminder that the dashboard works best on Chrome. Well, we can see that things are starting to maybe heat up a little bit. Emilia Velte up and out of the saddle, but I think this is just to make sure nothing really gets out of control to leave the pack rather than any kind of attacks. This is really these little bits of watts per kilogram jostling around, John. I think this is more about just securing your position and your draft at this point rather than anybody making a move.
Yeah, it seems like that. The smart riders getting into the right position. They don't want to spend too much time pushing their own wind. The best place to be is to find that spot within the peloton where you don't have to use all your effort early on. These rolling hills are quite similar. That's quite hard to judge sometimes. And of course, sometimes you see in the right-hand side when you're racing, you see the numbers, the orange numbers pop up, and there's almost a bit of a panic from everyone else, making sure they don't let anything just slip away really easily.
These rollers here, as you can see, they're going to gain a little bit of a speed down them and back up them and a little bit of a roll through. And no one really at this point, if you're not used to watching Zwift racing and the way that a pack interacts, you can get some accidental roll through. The pack does have a little bit of a churn to it, and so a lot of times a rider may find themselves at the front. It doesn't necessarily mean that they're actually working at the front. Everybody's pretty much right around a 4.0 to 5.0 watts per kilogram at this moment as they head through a 5% gradient, and that's really just to stay together. Until we see something like a 6 to 7 or some orange numbers into that 8 watts per kilogram, nobody's really making any kind of moves at this point. These are really just roll through free speed moments where you can find yourself at the front. As we see Maria Holdcroft, now Emilia Velte, all changing position very quickly.
Yeah, they are all sticking together. They know exactly what the important part of today is. Sometimes an advantage going in the second race. You can see where the damage was really done. And everyone in this peloton now is thinking about the grade KOM. They know they need to wait. They need to save their pennies so they can throw them all over the road and make some big moves. It's almost one of those races. I think it's going to get exciting in the build up to the grade. Riders will start looking for positioning, trying to maybe earn a little bit of a gap to give themselves a buffer when we do get to the climb. But we know where the fireworks are going to be. That's when everyone needs to be vigilant. and ready to really go to work.
LCB, Lucy Charles Barkley on the front, but only doing 3 watts per kilogram here at this point. So just a little bit of a roll through, it looks like, as they make their way over toward the Titans Grove KOM. Now, again, remember, there will be one power-up rewarded, and that is going to be the only power-up that is going to be rewarded out there today. It will be a draft power-up. So be on the watch out for when those drafts are used, because it is the only one that they will have, and when it is used, you need to really be thinking about that use of it, because you're not going to be getting another one. They're going to start their first KOM here in just a moment. They take this right-hand turn onto the Titans Grove KOM, and to the front, it looks like it's going to be, well, Stephanie Sidlick was there, but that's only 3 watts per kilogram at that moment. I think it's actually going to be Lucy Charles Barkley, now Maria Thompson. Those are the two actually at the front, but this isn't anything super serious at this point. It's pretty steady as the group is still bunched together. Not really a strung out line of riders at this point, so everybody able to match this pretty easily, John.
Yeah, everyone kind of just keeping an eye on each other here, aren't they? There's no real big attack going to happen at any time. Everyone just making sure they're not making any moves. Quite interesting, though. We talk about Lucy Charles Barkley, 2023 Ironman World Champion. She's been quite near the front for a lot of this race. Maybe is it one of those less experienced Zwift racers? She's really on the front, almost pushing more than everyone else. Always in the top 10, really good positioning, but it's all about being able to make that effort in the key point. You see, again, Charles Barkley now to the front, 7.5 watts per kilo. She's trying to put the hurt on the riders behind.
A little bit of a move here from Charles Barkley, looking like she wants to make something happen. Jackie Godby and Charles Barkley, now this is 2 riders you do not want to get away, actually. Jackie Godby going all in. I mean, that's 10 grams from this rider, and she's threshold like no other all day long. Cyrus Esports here, nice little kick, and what's going on here with Jackie Godby? I don't think that there was any confusion about where the sprint point was or anything for a preem. I think that this is just trying to get away. The reality is she was unable to necessarily hang on with the top riders in the qualifier, but was just in the chase group actually in the qualifier. This is a rider, if she gets a little bit of a time, she could hold on all the way to the finish line because she can climb very, very well. Maybe not quite with the best climbers out here today, but definitely if she has some time on her plate as she makes her way into the grade, she could stay away for the rest of the day.
Yeah, and already up to 7 seconds to the main peloton. Brilliant move here from Godby. As you said, only just missed out on the qualifier, just off the back of the front group. So does this give her the buffer? Can she hold this effort all the way to the line? I think behind they're going to have to answer to this one. They need to make sure the gap doesn't go too far out. We know how strong Godby is and how controlled and how almost professional. Just like a train when she gets into the effort, consistent, and consistency is exactly what you need when you're away on your own like this.
Lucy Charles Barkley now on the front as well. It looks like looking to go across, but the group quickly brings that back, easily actually brings that back as they get into the negative gradients. It shows you how difficult it can be as a couple of riders can just put a couple of digs in at 5 watts per kilogram or more at the front, and that will then roll on through with a little bit of a snowball effect as everybody puts in just little work there, ramps up the speed, and it can slingshot real quickly and right back into the fold. It's all back together. Titans Grove done and dusted out here today, but we are going to be looking next toward that Woodland Sprint. Will anybody make another move to try and get this rather than a group bunch sprint? We saw Holden Camo really patient for that one, able to take it down in the men's race. Will something similar here happen in the ladies' race? As we see now Team Castelli presented by Elite now making their way to the front a little bit. Is that an actual move? It looked like some acceleration actually from that rider, and that is going to be Sophie Giovanni, but it's only 3.5. I think that was just some roll-through speed.
Yeah, it looked like someone just moving up and you get to the front. As you do, it's almost just like you roll through the peloton, you end up at the front and think, oh, I don't want to be here. Back off, get back into the group as soon as possible. But this group all sticking together. It's going to be an interesting one in the Woodland Sprint. I think there's going to be some moves. There has to be some attacks as we get closer. But still, grouping all together. Everyone's nervous. Everyone's ready and waiting for what's ahead of them.
Definitely, the nerves are going to be high at this point. To bring the heart rate up a lot for the riders. Shannon was extremely nervous out there, and everybody just waiting and watching for that moment. I think really it's going to be looking towards that grade for sure to hang on up and over the top.
And then here we are, still Nevin now. Just come to the front, but this group all just keeping together where they can. It seems everyone's kind of settled in. We all know how hard the grade KOM, 3.6 kilometers, averaging at 8.7%. But it's those steep ramps of the hairpins as you get further up the climb that really will test these riders today. Still only 6.4 kilometers till that first preem. It's been quite controlled so far.
Yeah, 6.3 here at this point. I think really as they leave Titans Grove, we may see some roll-through speed actually onto the downhill as they enter into Tempest Fusion for just a moment, and then a right-hand turn onto the coast. That section of definitely tends to have riders get a little bit antsy as they start thinking about what's ahead of them. There's some undulations on the coast, isn't there, John, where riders can kind of take advantage of that terrain to gain speed and roll through like a roller coaster.
Yeah, this is the key point. Sometimes it almost just makes you feel like you've got that speed and you have that free speed and you want to make a move because you don't want to waste it. And that's exactly what some riders feel like they need to do. Still a group of 53 at the front here. This is a big size peloton in these early stages. No one really taking a big move yet, Nathan.
No, definitely not interested in risking too much out here today. Riding in a way that is very conservative. And that's really, it's a smart way to ride out here today. It definitely is. Using everything at the key moments. It's the ladies here definitely being tactical, whereas in the men's race we saw a whole lot of risk looking for reward, and not only a few were able to get that reward out there today, though.
Yeah, exactly. This is the tactically smart move to do. If there isn't a big group, let's say you need around 10, 15 riders to make constant attacks to really break this peloton apart. And if there isn't enough riders who have that same urge, the same tactical belief to make it hard for everyone, it's almost impossible to do if it's one or two riders to keep attacking it over and over by themselves. So everyone just waiting patiently. But it's going to be exciting. All I feel seems like it just makes it the build-up even more for the grade KOM.
Yeah, we say a lot of times that this kind of a situation makes the pressure points that much harder. We talk a lot during racing out on Zwift, like when it's this calm, all the chatter starts going to, it's going to be really painful when it really kicks off. Because the reality is when you get into a threshold effort, it's slightly more comfortable in some ways. It's slightly more like you can hold in your rhythm. You get into your race. But when you get into those shorter efforts, into those 3-minute, 5-minute, 10-minute efforts, and you've completely rested up to that point, nobody's used up any of that nitrous oxide. Nobody's really pushed that button with the afterburners. then that's when the pressure can really get on, and the pain is super, super high. So, well, it looks like we've got Alice Lethbridge in scene here, and I think we had a little bit of a chat with her about her Zwift World Series.
I'm Alice Lethbridge, I'm 39, I ride for Coalition Alpha. I'm from the UK, and I'm quite a punchy rider who likes the short hills. My biggest attribute of a rider is probably using my brain and reading the game and just knowing my competitors really, really well. I know a lot about the other riders. My goals this season, I would like to obviously perform well across the board, and we want to try and pick up team points again. I've had a couple of years not being able to do much of the elite racing on Zwift just for health reasons, so I'm looking forward to hopefully completing a full season back up near the top. I got a win in one of the early Premier Leagues in Richmond that was quite unexpected, and that was I really, really enjoyed that. So I would probably say Aeonian as a team are a big nemesis to us because they're super smart and really clever as well. And in terms of an individual rider, my former teammate Cecilia Hansen coming back and racing for Aeonian, she's really going to be one to watch. My trademark celebration is probably actually collapsing over the bars, I think. I've never, every time we won something in Zwift, it's just been full gas effort and almost like disbelief and shock and exhaustion.
One of the most experienced riders in the peloton, that is for sure, which is going to be Alice Lethbridge. And I like how she had called out who the competitors are out there. She knows exactly who to watch out for. And Aeonian, definitely one of the most successful teams in the world of Zwift racing. But Alice on Coalition, watch out for her. She says she's on the comeback. It'd be great to see Alice here with a solid result out here today. Lucy Charles Park looking very calm here at this point. Definitely well within herself. 134 beats per minute, and things pretty chill here for Lucy Charles Barkley as she looks forward to the grade. But things are about to ramp up, aren't they here, John, as we're looking forward to that woodland sprint. It's a downhill sprint as well, and I have a feeling we're going to start seeing perhaps some position at least, if not some moves, to try and make it for that preem and a series pass ticket punched.
Yeah, we're getting closer now. It's just over 2 kilometers until we reach that woodland sprint. As you can see, Lucy Charles Barkley in the corner there, nice and steady. Giovanni, 173 beats. You can see the difference in the heart rate there. Tucking in, out of the saddle. And here we perfect timing, making a move. Is this an early attack to go for that woodland sprint?
Almost on cue. Now, somebody to watch out for with this sprint is going to be Tiffany Penner. You can see she does not have a series pass. Tiffany Penner, riding for CryoDT in the Zwift Racing League during one of the points races, took down every single point banner on this coast going the opposite direction, actually. Tiffany Penner, I think this is going to be like the Holden Camus moment. Tiffany Penner is one of the best sprinters in esports out there right now. I don't know that she can hang on when it comes to the leaders for the climb, but I know that she can definitely go toe-to-toe when it comes to the sprint, and she knows how to set it up perfectly. Will it happen here, though, for Penner? Be absolutely amazing for the Canadian.
We know how good she is, exactly what you've just said. It's all about timing, though, isn't it? You can see the riders making their moves earlier. Looks like Hayley Simmons. She used her draft power up there as well. Used that early on, I think. Moved away to the front. She already does have a pass for the series. Maybe just getting into position.
Now we do see, it looks like Saris Esports now making her way to the front. That's going to be Jackie Godby actually making a little bit of a dig. Interesting with Godby off the front a little bit. Penner, second wheel, over and over again, you see Penner always setting up. Now, Liz Van Houweling, though, sitting fourth wheel. That's your Sprinters Royale here at this point. Those two definitely, as well as Jackie Godme. There's a lot of big watch, but look, here comes the Swedish national champion, Mika Soderstrom, another rider to be thinking about for this sprint. It's about to head downhill here in just a second. Look at Jackie Godbe setting up. Here comes Mika. Mika going really early. Interesting to see here. A little bit of a kick from her. Penner now sitting second wheel. Oh no, Penner finds herself on the front. I'm not sure it's going to happen for Penner because of that, though, as it opens up. Tiffany Penner opened up the drop, and here comes Mika Soderstrom. Mika, 14 watts per kilogram. Is she going to hold on all the way to the line? I think she's done it. Mika Soderstrom, unstoppable when it comes to any sprint. We've seen her do it time and again. Takes it down.
Perfectly timed by the Swedish champion, Soderstrom. What a sprint. Getting all the way up in those numbers as well. 14 watts per kilo. Perfectly timed. Takes away Prem number 1.
Mika Soderstrom, Rhiannon Denton, Lucy Charles Barclay taking down third place in a sprint when you call her a triathlete and then shows up. I mean, how? That's pretty amazing, John, that we've got somebody who's known for steady state showing up and throwing down that kind of a sprint to take third there. Pretty amazing.
It is. You can see the acceleration she had. It kind of slipped by, to be honest. Perfectly timed in a way. You can see the riders that Soderstrom did it perfectly. And over the top now, this is the key point now. 29 kilometers to go. This is where that elastic, that bunch is starting to stretch out. Is there a chance for riders to make moves, to break away as we get closer now to the key point, the grade KOM?
Interesting little bit of, now this is really interesting. 3 next esports riders on the front. Are they just trying to make things fast? Are they trying to get separation here at this point? Because we saw Liz Van Houweling at the front and her teammate Meyer chased her down, or are they trying to make it fast? Was that a mistake there? Because 5 watts per kilogram, that's no joke after a sprint like that, interesting enough. So, but with 3 of them at the front, I'm wondering if perhaps that had more to do with, like, let's make a move a little bit, but not having a realization that the whole pack was there still, and it wasn't really going to go anywhere. So it looks like things are calming right on down as that was caught. Some separation, though, behind. I think a few riders are now have fallen off after that sprint section, as there is a chase group with Melissa Aitken actually off the back. That's a big name. Tiffany Penner as well, Tilly Field, Jenny Eck, Megan Rathwell. We've got a lead group here now with 45 riders with a solid group behind it. It's got some big names in it, actually. So maybe that's why, knowing that a few riders were off the back here, they just wanted to press the pace to make sure that, no, this is never coming back for them.
Yeah, maybe it was the smart move, just to keep that pressure on. That's exactly what they've done. And there is some big names who have been distanced. They've got to make a big effort now to get back to this peloton, to get back to the big group. Does that affect their chances on the grade KOM, which is, we know it's going to be the key point, but being vigilant throughout the race. You have to concentrate throughout to make sure you don't miss anything. You get a highlight of that sprint.
Mika on the inside there.
It was perfectly timed there by Mika.
Looks like. Yeah, it looked like it was well timed. We got a freeze image there of it, as you can see exactly where she took over. I was a little bit worried for her, actually, as to whether or not she was going to hold on to it, as she took the front so early. But easily taken down there by Mika. Now all back together, though, as you can see after that sprint.
Yeah, Mika, she almost got there, didn't she? She got in the right position and then got swamped, but still had the legs to go over the top again and take the win.
So it looks like we're going to head back down to the coffee shop perhaps for just a moment and grab a cup of coffee as we head over to the pens to have a quick little look around the course here now at this point. Back in with the group, though, as we got some nice shots of the beautiful coastline. And Roberta Bassoni, 3.4 watts per kilogram at the front, just making sure she has position. It's all calmed down again. And I think with the way that these ladies are riding, there may be 1 or 2 little moves from here on out toward the gradient, toward the grade. But I think the reality is everybody knows where this race is going to be won.
It sure is. Sometimes we talked about it earlier, Nathan. I think, always in my experience, I always liked it being quite hard as you got into the climb. You were already used to making those efforts. Your heart rate was up a little bit, and you've almost got it out your legs. You've got that lactic acid out your legs. You've made those little accelerations. You feel ready and primed and ready to go. But when it's been controlled and steady, is it going to be a massive shock to your system when you hit the grade and actually just go full gas? It's a difficult feeling, to be honest, when you've been able just to ride at an easier, steadier pace, and then suddenly everything goes on. And for some reason, I always felt like my legs hurt a lot more when it came out of nowhere, and you just have to commit.
Yeah, it's a good point, actually. Whether or not these riders like it to be a little bit more difficult for that steady effort or just to all-in VO2, a little more than VO2 when it comes to how long they're going to have to go for this one. But still very calm. Maybe get a ramp up, though. You can use riders on a team, though. I'm not sure that any of these riders are going to be willing for that sacrifice. But there is a reality of being able to ramp things up. We do see, though, behind now, a catch being made, getting back on terms. Very well done from Penner, now able to get back on terms after that massive sprint. There was also one other rider that was able to get back on terms as well. That is going to be Melissa Aitken. Aitken here, oh man, that is a tough one for Melissa Aitken. Great to see that she's able to get back on terms with this because she is a strong rider, and a little bit surprised to see her off the back.
It was a shock, wasn't it? But they made a big move to get back. Is that going to take too much out of them when they do get to the climb? Or is it just a question of that peloton at the front being able to control things? They're not really on the move, on the attack. But it was definitely good to see Penner getting back and making contact again.
Aitken, a rider, I believe perhaps maybe she misjudged the pack and its speed, because if you misjudge a sprint like that and you think, oh, I'm just going to sit in, I'm not going to do a whole lot at this moment, and I'm just going to trust that the pack is going to carry me along. And if you find yourself with any kind of a gap when they're traveling at full gallop in a sprint situation like that, that can be exactly why a gap can open up, and suddenly you've got to put in a full gas threshold effort. Luckily for these riders, it did calm down to this 3 watt per kilogram or so. Everybody waiting for the grade, and they were able to not have to waste too much energy to get back. But now with the grade up ahead of them, they're going to be looking to take on most likely a good amount of energy, getting some sugar in, either a gel or something that's in the bottle there, because they're going to have to load up before one of the hardest efforts where you really burn a lot of those carbohydrates.
Yeah. Already as well, 30 minutes, 32 minutes of racing before you even start making these big efforts. It's all about being cool, being hydrated, being ready to really go full gas. And it's interesting. Maybe some of those riders who did miss the back of the group, maybe they were just making a little effort, making their legs wake up a little. You never know. They'll come in. But it is all together. Everyone's happy to watch each other at this moment in time.
Rianne Denton now making her way to the front as we're about to head toward the grade here in just a moment. There is just a couple of turns, and it'll be a right-hand turn onto that wall. We didn't get a view of the Sasquatch there. It looks like unable to see Bigfoot today, as it looks like he's hiding out. I have a feeling he doesn't have a very good watt per kilogram up on the top of the grade, so went back into the woods rather than hang out with these ladies out here today. I have a feeling that he would get dropped pretty hard, as now Kate McCartney now takes over at the front.
This is the time now. You're trying to think of positioning with making sure you're in the right position with the least amount of effort. You want to be in a good place, because even if the rider's in front of you, if you're too far back when you make this right-hand turn, this group is going to stretch out. At the moment, you can see how bunched up and together it is. As soon as we turn right, it's just going to go straight into one line, ones and twos. So it's key now. The experienced Zwifters need to make their way to be in that front bubble. They've got 5 kilometers until the top. So you're now looking around 1.4k until we start the climb.
Going to be a right-hand turn here in just a moment. They do this little bit of a snake around for a second, then they're going to hit that roundabout. But instead of going all the way around the roundabout, it's going to be straight on through to the grade. Vicky Whitelaw here, one of the best time trialists in the world of Zwift racing. Really calm here at this point. She knows how to draft. She's one of the most experienced racers, that's for sure, as you do see that heart rate at 152. And look at the watts. Super low watts at this point. But the positioning, as you said, is going to be a reality now as they look to try and set things up. It's going to be a couple of corners here, and then good positioning is going to be absolutely key. And Britt Litton here toward the front now, taking over for Saris Esports. We see the Red Bull helmet, though, always up toward the front. That's Lucy Charles Barkley. Right on her right, Emilia Velte. And then it's going to be Bissone, McCarthy, Gallegos is there as well. Engstrom, Lundwin, Liz Van Houweling, all within the top 10. Now making the way to the front. Britt Litton, though, setting the pace.
This is it now. We get down to the key point of today's race. Into position. We make that right-hand turn onto the grade. And again, 3.6 kilometers, averaging 8.7%. That first straight is perfectly straight for a long time. There's no hiding. Who's going to be the one? Who's going to be the rider to really push on at the front and really make everyone else suffer on their wheel?
Here we go, and now we head into that roundabout, and it's going to be a right-hand turn straight up the grade as Britt Litton continues to lead things out. Lucy Charles Barkley to the front now, 4.3 watts per kilogram from her right now, and here we go. It's going to be Liz Van Houweling, third wheel, Britt Litton leading things out, Lucy Charles Barkley, Lucy Gadd to the front, Emilia Velte. Everyone just looking for position, but now is going to be when the questions are really going to be answered. Smithers now takes over, the first one to make a move. Kristen Kolchinski also there in second wheel at this point. Catherine Furr also right up to the front. Now in the 7 watts per kilogram. KK making moves as she takes over toward the front end, that right-hand side of the screen. That's your U.S. National Champions kit here. Gabriella Guerra there, 6.8. Catherine Furr, but Kristen Kolchinski getting a little bit of a gap back. Actually, does she want to break this from bottom to top?
Kolchinski is asking all the questions right now. Everyone needs to answer. Perfectly timed, moved up in the right position, settled down to 6.5 watts per kilo now. Kolchinski, the American champ, out of the saddle in the 181 beats per minute, settling down into a rhythm. It's looking good. You can see this peloton is getting stretched out now, all above 6 watts per kilo on the right-hand side.
Yeah, Kolchinski looks like she is all in at this point. 282 watts now, 181 beats per minute, and she wants to give it a go from bottom to top. She knows she needs to put the pain on early on. She does not want this to come down to a sprint situation. Now Kate McCarthy, one of the strongest riders in the world, winning the qualifier, now looking to do the same, it looks like, as she presses on the New Zealander at 6.0 watts per kilogram. Guerra looking to follow. Look at this, stretched out, and we are going to have a very different situation, they think, here than we did in the men's race. And it's about 6, 7, maybe 8 riders able to make the initial moves at the front.
And this is it. Look at the damage that's been done. Started by Kolchinski, but now McCarthy really pressing on now at the front. Perfectly timed. But again, Lucy Charles Barkley hanging on, fourth wheel, always there, always watching. No one can shake her off yet. Still, these groups, 4 riders strong at the moment. but it's about 7 riders back to Catherine Furrer in 7th place. They're just about holding together, but we have a long way to go on the grade.
And we do get a virtual leaderboard there. Currently, Gabriela Guerra at the top, Kristen Kolchinski 2nd place, and Catherine Furrer now falling down to 3rd. That is your current series leader. But, you know, the reality is the virtual leaderboard is going to tell the story throughout as the riders change positions. McCarthy now, she is being relentless at the front. Kolchinski trying to follow, it looks like here. Lucy Charles Barkley sitting in for that 4th place at this moment. We've got a rider, 5 riders really setting up at this point as being your lead group. Catherine Furrer trying to close that down. 3 seconds back now at this point. Liz Van Houweling 6 seconds back, but we're just getting started into the grade here now at this point. So the reality is, look at the pain on McCarthy's face. All in on the early sections of the grade. Interesting to see how hard she's going before we even hit the 2nd section here. And it's going to flatten out. Charles Barkley looking to come across. Godby, is she going to be able to stick with this as Kate McCarthy is putting the hurt on?
Completely commitment from McCarthy here. Kolchinski just trying to hold on to the wheel. And Guerrera 3rd as well. Charles Barkley 4th, and then Godby 5th, but then you can finally see the gap. And now as they level off, these 5 riders will start to pull away from the riders behind. This group of 5 now, when they hit these hairpins, the percentage goes up and up, the steepness comes. There's still so much more racing left, but that is a good selection at the front now. A group of 5, almost 9 seconds back to our race 1 winner, Catherine Furrer.
Now Kate McCarthy continues on. 6.1 watts per kilogram coming from her, actually, and she just starts to ride away from everybody. Lucy Charles Barkley here trying to close things down, but Kate McCarthy, she is just on a rhythm here, and she just says, I don't care, I'm just going to continue on, and she's actually attacking this 2nd section of the grade, actually. Full gas from bottom to top, it looks like here, for Kate McCarthy. Kristen Kolchinski looking to close that down, it looks like. Gabriela Guerra looking to come across now, as it's going to be Lucy Charles Barkley going backwards as they hit the steeper sections. This grade 8%, though, this actually isn't the steepest sections. Kate McCarthy's got a 2-second gap now going out to 3 seconds, and it looks like she can just continue on at 6.3, 6.5 watts per kilogram as Kolchinski starts to back off. It looks like they may have to settle in because Kate McCarthy just has everything, it looks like, out here today.
All in from McCarthy. Didn't need to wait for anyone else, did she? She's settled, she's got into a rhythm. She doesn't look like she plans on slowing down anytime soon either. 167 beats per minute. That's pretty controlled, actually. The effort that she's doing still now opened up a gap. 6.6 seconds. Brilliant ride from McCarthy, all in. Still, remember, we have to remember it's 20 kilometers to go. We go through the prime, the top, after 3.6k in around a kilometer's time from now, but then they still have to go up and down on the epic KOM. Still plenty of racing to be done, but has McCarthy finally broken everyone behind? The gap is only going one way at the moment, Nathan, and I think that's going out.
Yeah, it's Kolchinski and Guerra now at this point getting together as Lucy Charles Barkley falls off pace with them. Jackie Godby 6 seconds back from there. Now the question is whether or not Kate McCarthy can get enough time up and over the top and continue on. Is this just for the preem? Is this an all-in move like what we saw from Thomas Parent? Or does she have this all the way to the finish line is going to be the big question mark. At 13 seconds, though, Kate McCarthy is just a level above everybody else at this point. Absolutely amazing. Kolchinski and Guerra, their thoughts now at this point are going back to the reality of Lucy Charles Barkley and Jackie Godby maybe on a chase to try and bring them back. Catherine Furrer, though, the current series leader, is only 13 seconds back, and she could bring this back as well. There's a lot of games to be played out on course still with the virtual leaderboard as well for the overall, as well as the win out here today.
It certainly is. Kolchinski Guerrero, Godby, Charles Barkley, and Ferrer, that group can really easily just come back together. And then they have 5 riders chasing 1. It's not all over yet for these riders behind. They just need to settle into what they can do. Almost ride within themselves. They don't want to go too far in the red, chasing McCarthy. It's almost, is that a tactical battle? Is that exactly what they've done? They know they couldn't carry on following McCarthy. They ride within themselves. They get in a group. And as we go down the descent, in a while's time, they might be able to bring it all back together. But McCarthy, to be honest, she's looking unstoppable. The gap now, 20 seconds back to Guerrero and Kolczynski.
21 seconds. I mean, she is really on a rampage at this point. Now Godby here now being joined very quickly by Catherine Ferrer. Catherine Ferrer now looking to try and make up some time, bumping it up to 5.7 watts per kilogram, looking to actually drop Lucy Charles Barkley and Jackie Godby as she moves herself actually into 4th place on the day right now. So nice little move here from Catherine Ferrer to regroup, get some energy back, riding her own race. Looking at Jackie Godby, now Catherine Ferrer here, 5.6 watts per kilogram. Garrett moving to the front of that group up ahead now. And the question is, how hard can Catherine Ferrer get over the top of this in order to chase down those 2 up ahead? That's going to be the big question mark of the day. Do not want to bring Catherine Ferrer to the line with you. The woman's got one of the best kicks in the world. That is for sure. So Guerrero and Kolczynski are definitely going to be looking at the rider list nearby and thinking, how do we hold off that freight train that is Catherine Ferrer? The 2 climbers up ahead looking to make a break for it.
A brilliant ride, though, from Catherine Ferrer. Settled into her own rhythm, hasn't she? She didn't go all out from the bottom. Almost just settled, ridden her own pace the whole way up this climb. Similar to how McCarthy's done it. McCarthy's just done it with 0.8 watts per kilo more than everyone else. Still, 160 meters until the top. She takes prime 2. That means she gets her series pass. But is it a move for the series pass, Nathan? Or is it a move for victory today? That's what we need to wait and find out.
I think it's going to be pretty hard to stop Kate McCarthy with the kind of time gap she has at this point, almost 30 seconds. But 2 riders on a downhill, if they're able to work really well together, maybe be able to bring that back. If they get Catherine Ferrer in there, the other question is, do they work together or do they watch each other? It's going to be an interesting one. We do see a little bit of a kick behind here, 7 watts per kilogram. Nice kick there from Guerra, actually. It looks like she's wanting to get away from Kolczynski, actually, up and over the top. 8 watts per kilogram for a moment there. Big effort here from Gabriela Guerra. She looks to maybe try and close things down to Kate McCarthy. She's definitely looks like interested in more than just this 2nd place preem now at this point as she kicks into 5.0 and just continuance. 6 watts per kilogram gets the speed going, and it looks like Kolczynski there going to be taking 3rd place for that preem.
Is it one of those moves when you know you're near the top? Guerra then makes a big move. Still, we have to go up and down to get to the top of the epic KOM before we start descending. Is it enough time to close that gap? Has McCarthy gone all in? And is she paying the price for that big effort now? Behind, the groups aren't coming together. The riders are in ones all over the road. If anyone wants to get back to that lead rider of McCarthy, they need to work together in a group, in my opinion. But as you can see on the right-hand side now, it's going to be a time trial. It's going to be an 18-kilometer time trial between all these riders. Who has got the most left in the legs?
McCarthy bumping it up to 6.6 watts per kilogram. She does have, as you can see, that little grayed out World Series pass, so she has secured her World Series pass on the day as taking that preem. We do see McCarthy here now trying to get into a super tuck, it looked like there for a moment, unable to do so, as you did see her Tron bike go into no glow. Now back into glow. as she comes up onto the top of this little kicker here. And you can see with the virtual leaderboard, Gabriela Guerra moves into first place over the top of Catherine Furr. It's almost like we're back in the Zwift Games. Catherine Furr versus Gabby Guerra was the question mark at Zwift Games, and now we're back in that same situation with Furr on the chase.
It's going to be a battle. Who's going to take over on the virtual leaderboard? We'll get to see that. But still, Guerra, 7.5 watts per kilo. Is it coming back? Is Guerra going to be able to get to McCarthy? You see the move there from Guerra. Kulczynski, distance. McCarthy taking out the preem. There's plenty more racing to go here. It's going to be a battle all the way until the end.
Great replays there. Absolutely love to see those efforts there as the avatars make their way toward the summit of the Watopia mountain. Still plenty of climbing to go as they're looking toward that banner with the mountain goat on the right-hand side. And we'll get to see what the time gaps are up and over the top there. Holding it at about what looks to be 28 seconds. It had gone out to almost 30 seconds actually, but it is steady now at this point as McCarthy gets into 2.6, 2.8 onto the downhill, and now it's going to be the last little punch to the top. Now Catherine Furr here with Lucy Charles Barkley. They've got ahead of them none other than Kristen Kulczynski. Now, Kristen Kulczynski, definitely one of the best climbers in the world, and she does have a steady effort on her. She can go threshold all day long. These two start working together, though, and they start to become a threat, though, for KK. So it'll be interesting to see what they can pull off to try and bring back third place on the road.
Yeah, this is a point now. Furr rode within herself on the climb, didn't she? She controlled her effort perfectly. She's got to the right place. She's with Lucy Charles Barkley. These two can start to work together. It's only around 16 seconds to Kulczynski ahead of them. Guerra and McCarthy well out ahead now. First and second seems to be pretty much done. That's a battle between each other. But it's interesting to see who's going to fight for that final podium place, third place on today's race.
McCarthy almost to the top now at this point. Guerra now trying to chase her down, but not able to quite match the watts per kilogram. I did see a massive kick just a moment ago from Kristen Kulczynski as well as Catherine Furr. The moment that they started to hit uphill again on to this last little bit of a gradient, Kulczynski is making another move to try and bring things back, actually, interesting enough. 5.9 watts per kilogram coming from her. Guerra now kicks again at the 6, but McCarthy's got the 5.8, almost 6 watts per kilogram, all the way to the top. Continues to open up the gap. It's gone out to 33 seconds at this point as Kate McCarthy is just dominating this climb out here today. The New Zealander is just unstoppable as she crests over the top of this mountain goat banner, as you do see on the left-hand side of the screen. Now Guerra here, the next one that's going to be looking to come over the top here. She looks to distance herself from Kulczynski, but Kulczynski is actually closing the gap a little bit, it looks like to me. Guerra, though, gives one last little dig, it looks like, up into almost 6 watts per kilogram here, as she's 35 seconds in arrears of the leader.
I think it's those moves on the Epic KOM, the little downhills, then the acceleration. You all get that free speed. You want to keep that speed as high as possible. But what a battle we've had so far. Riders putting it on the line. Guerra still at 6 watts per kilo. It's all about just making sure you're higher numbers than McCarthy, trying to bring this gap back. Behind that, 4th and 5th, is it going to be Charles Barkley and Furr working together? Can they bring Kulczynski back? We saw earlier on.
Charles Barkley up and out of the saddle.
Yeah, we saw early on she was quite controlled, Lucy, but now 6 watts per kilo, all out.
Yeah, and it looks like Kolchinsky here, 15 seconds, I believe, to those riders behind. I think Kolchinsky may be breaking those two as she's, you know, Lucy Charles-Barkley, look at the determination here from her, leading things out. She's got on her wheel one of the best esports racers in the world, if not the best esports racer in the world. This is your Zwift Games champion. She knows exactly what she's doing, and Catherine Furrer immediately goes up and over the top into 10 watts per kilogram and looks to get into that super tuck as quickly as possible. She may gap Lucy Charles-Barkley, and this is what we were talking about. The experience of Catherine Furrer with that golden Tron gets into the super tuck, and Lucy Charles-Barkley now is 1 second off the back now at this point, and this is a moment of truth here of whether or not she can come back to this. Catherine Furrer is walking away, and she's got a solid 2 seconds almost at this point with no effort because of that kick she put in. Will Charles-Barkley work now at this point to try and put in a dig to bring this back on this little flattening out section?
She's going to have to. Charles-Barkley really laid it up there for Furrer for that attack. Perfectly timed into the tuck from Furrer. But still, 1-2 seconds back to Charles-Barkley. And now 10 watts per kilo. Trying to shut this gap down. But it's so hard to be done on the descent when you're up at speeds of 71 kilometers an hour. Back into the tuck. And all this is doing, actually, does this mean Kolchinsky's gap is decreasing? Could all come back together, Kolchinsky, Furrer, and Charles-Barkley. Guerra now 36 seconds down. Getting in the tuck as well. It really has just turned into a time trial, hasn't it, between all these riders. Whatever you've got left,
yeah,
you have to get everything out.
And it's not over either for any of these riders. Anyone can explode here still at this point. I mean, McCarthy, she's been really solid and consistent at this point, but I think every one of these riders is pulling everything they possibly can to try and hold off the others behind them. Furrer now has 2 seconds, though. Guerra here in the super tuck, as you can see, but in that rider's list nearby, as you can see, 37 seconds in arrears. Then it's Kolchinsky not very far behind Guerra now at this point. Only 34 seconds, it looks like. And then it looks like between Kolchinsky and Furrer, 9 seconds. Furrer is coming back to Kolchinsky, actually, and has dropped Barkley now at this point. Lucy Charles-Barkley is going to have to get into TT mode. And then behind Lucy Charles-Barkley, we've got Meyer and Busoni, Godby, Soderstrom, big names. And that group is the dangerous group. That group gets on a freight train. That group starts working together. Next thing you know, we've got a big group coming to the line for your top 10.
Really do. There's so much going on in this race. McCarthy doesn't realize she's settled down into her rhythm. She's riding away with it, but there's plenty more to go behind. You can see those gaps slowly coming back together. The key one, I think, is Kolchinsky, Catherine Furrer, and Lucy Charles-Barkley. If those three all come back together, the hardest place to be there, it's for Guerra in second place. She then needs to hold off 3 riders chasing her. McCarthy failing, blowing up completely and leaving it all out there. She needs to ride control. She's ridden perfectly today. I think she'll be able to carry on, hold this effort, but the race for second is still on. Kolchinsky 30 seconds down on Guerra in second place.
Yeah, and as you can see, Kate McCarthy getting into that super tuck over and over again, holding a solid between 30 and 40 seconds over Guerra. And as you can see, getting up into those little bits of punches and then back into as much kilometers per hour onto the downhill that she possibly can, using that super tuck over and over again. You can see exactly what these riders are doing. Those punches, gain the speed, then use the super tuck. Gain the speed and use the super tuck as best as they possibly can. Now she's going to get into the roll through speed. It's Gabby versus Kate. Now on screen, as you can see, the super tuck from Guerra trying to get the speed as possibly high as she possibly can. Little bit of fluids now being time, taking on a little bit of sugar in order to make sure she's got the last little bit. Look at the kick, though. Trying to get those watts per kilogram as high as she can. One last little dig for the super tuck, and now it's going to be all about the roll in to the flat in the same way that you saw Kate McCarthy carry the speed, and now it's TT mode to the line.
And look at the pain face from Kate McCarthy. It's definitely not an easy effort. This is not over. Everything going in from McCarthy. It's a question. Is it better to be chasing someone or have someone chasing you? The carrot is there for Guerra. She just needs to aim for McCarthy. But McCarthy settled down again. 5.1 watts per kilo. Sitting at 290 watts to 300 watts. What a ride from the New Zealander. Been unstoppable today. And it looks as we have Kolczynski and Führer. They come together. Can Lucy Charles-Barkley get back to them as well? Of course, this is interesting now as well for the overall. Talked about it earlier. We've had the leaderboard up a couple times. Guerra was leading, but with Führer coming up to third place, looks like she might be able to hold on to her overall lead at this time. But now Führer and Kolczynski, will they work together, or is it just a question of whatever anyone's got left?
Yeah, it looks to me like Führer and Kolczynski are starting to play games a little bit. We saw a big kick from Kolczynski as they went downhill, and then Führer rolled right on through. But the games have definitely started. Catherine Führer, 3.3, 3.4 on the front now. Guerra continuing away at about 5.0 or plus watts per kilogram. Kate McCarthy there, also off the front, about 5.0 to 6 watts per kilogram continually. So Kolczynski now up and over the top of Führer. The attacks are going to start here. I think that's going to be the question between them. Now, Lucy Charles-Barkley on the chase through the marina. She's got them in sight. She can just see them around the corner, up the road from here, on the chase at 4.5. If they keep on playing games, Lucy Charles-Barkley could come back to this. The other thing is Kristen Kolczynski does not want to sprint. That is the last thing Kristen Kolczynski wants up against Catherine Führer. So Catherine Führer at this point, in order to secure her place, all she has to do is follow the wheel. And that actually plays into Lucy Charles-Barkley's hand because she's got the steady, consistent triathlete effort. So the reality is Catherine Führer, she knows she can outsprint everyone that's around her at this point. So she just needs to stick to KK's wheel. KK, though, now, again, looking to try and break Catherine, but it's going to be a tough one to do. That's for sure.
Kolczynski is trying it early, trying to make these moves, make it hard. Gotta wait. Is Kolczynski better waiting for a key point to make a move? Almost making Führer ride on the front. Charles-Barkley consistent behind. But all it does, it helps Guerra to make sure she isn't going to get caught. These two are messing around. It's not a consistent effort. For the likes of McCarthy and Guerra, they're in the perfect place. They just need to concentrate on their effort. As you can see now, Kolczynski, 172 beats per minute, talking into the race radio, trying to make a plan on the fly.
Yeah, she'll have Josh Lipka, her coach, most likely in her ear, letting her know, hey, this is what you need to do. This is how you make some moves. They're going to start making a plan most likely for this final little bit here. And Kolczynski may be saying, fine, let's just not get caught by Lucy Charles-Barkley. If Catherine's going to be sitting on at this point, the main goal is just to make sure that I don't lose 2 places to the reality of being chased by Lucy Charles-Barkley. And perhaps Guerra blows up ahead or something, whatever may happen up there. But now at this point, I just got to continue on. If Catherine's not going to work, at least I don't lose to 2 other riders. I have a feeling perhaps that may be what KK is setting for now.
It's almost making a choice. In a way, Führer, you can play the game. I think Kolczynski could say, you're the one who's leading the overall. It's up to you to ride on the front, make sure we don't get caught. But obviously that is a risk. You don't want to be risking these things. Because sometimes if you risk it to win it, You need to be willing to gamble and take these big opportunities if you want to win big. Just as McCarthy has done. Set the pace, destroyed the field. She's riding off to a fantastic victory at this point.
McCarthy, 5.0 on the front. It looks like, I'm being told, if Führer beats KK, she and Gabby will be tied for first. They believe we're looking at most likely is what we're looking at here. We'll see how that ends up playing out. Kate McCarthy, look at her, continuing up and out of the saddle, non-stop effort. I haven't seen her change from this mode since the bottom of the grade. That's essentially been what Kate McCarthy's been doing from the bottom of the grade, all in, just non-stop effort, up and out of the saddle, digging every last ounce of effort she can into that bike. Love to see the effort here from her. The New Zealander trying to stay away. Garrett now trying to chase it down here, but at 35 seconds, it just looks like a little bit too much in order to make this happen. Behind, though, Catherine Führer attacking. Is she attacking Kolchinski? No, that's just a downhill roll in order to keep the speed. That's what was going on there. That wasn't, that 7 watts per kilogram you saw on the rider list nearby there was not actually an attack. It was just to keep the speed, to maybe bring back some time on Garrett or keep Lucy Charles Barkley off here. Garrett here now, focus on the face, it looks like here, making sure her speed is as high as she possibly can. 180 beats per minute. There's only, it looks to be, about 4.5 kilometers left now. That's all that's left to try and take down this second place and perhaps the series lead on the virtual leaderboard right now. She is right now in the lead, but she's got to secure it still.
Yeah, a brilliant ride as well. We talked about how good McCarthy has been, but Garrett, fantastic, settled into her pace, made a move, dropped Kolchinski at the top of the grade KOM. And it's behind now. This is the key battle. Who's going to be leading the leaderboard? It's down to Kolchinski and Führer. Could Führer end up tying on points with Garrett? Or is Kolchinski going to make a move and take third place? As we saw earlier on in the men's race, we come through the volcano now. There's plenty launch pads for attacks. And after such a tough race, over an hour and 5 minutes of racing in, just a little attack at the right point can make a massive difference.
Kolchinski continuing to lead this. You did see Kolchinski, I believe she was chatting a little bit. I saw her typing, I believe, in game and asking, I think, for a little bit of a help on the front. And that's when we did see Catherine starting to take a little bit of pulls. The question mark, though, here between these two, there's another little bit of a climb. It's a 2-tier climb into the volcano. That may be the last chance for Kolchinski to perhaps get the better of Führer. The question is, how much does Führer have left in the tank? Again, Kolchinski does not want to take Führer to the finish line. That is the last thing that she wants to do. I can't remember what power-ups have been used by the riders yet either. Has Führer already used her drafting power-up? Has Kolchinski? Whether or not they have a power-up is going to definitely be a question mark at the finish line if it does come down to a sprint between these two. Kolchinski now, I am seeing 8 watts per kilogram for a moment there from her. Now Garrett, there she is, coming up over the top of this. It's going to be all about the speed that she carries through here for the consistency. You can really see between McCarthy and Gara, they're just watching each other's watts per kilogram. You can really see that they are trying to match or better each other over and over and over again. And look at how consistent that time gap is. Kay McCarthy has only opened up 3 seconds here, so it was all about that grade climb and then holding to the finish line for her. She did all the damage on the grade and is held on almost to the finish line now.
Yeah, it really just turned into a time trial between Garrett and McCarthy. Not much between them on the flat for the rest of the time. It really showed McCarthy had those amazing legs. She used them at the right time, opened up a gap. As you look back now, Lucy Charles Barkley just distanced on the descent by Führer, wasn't it? Führer made an attack, got into the super tuck, and it's amazing how fast a gap can open on Zwift. She's riding at a controlled pace. Exactly what she needs to do. But today, it was all about McCarthy, wasn't it? What a ride with 2 kilometers to go. 38 seconds, second place. What a ride from the New Zealander. So strong, so controlled throughout.
Yeah, she has been on a rampage for about the last month or so. This has kind of been her forte. At a certain point in the race, when the race gets hard enough, she just goes. And this has been definitely her signature, as you can see. So absolutely amazing ride here by Kate McCarthy. She's got 37 seconds over the top of Gabriella Guerra here now at this point. Now behind Gabriella Guerra, Kristen Kolchinski, Katrin Furr continuing on 5.0, 6.0 watts per kilogram consistently. Here comes Guerra through that same section, of course, about to leave the little section on over to the volcano and over toward the Watopia Pens in just a moment here. We aren't going to see a sprint between these front 2 riders and anyone else. They're going to roll on in for first and second place. Katrin Furr and Kristen Kolchinski, though, that's going to be the big question mark for third place on the day. Behind them, Lucy Charles Barkley is sitting in 5th. And then behind that, though, there is one of the most interesting packs I have ever seen out on Zwift. Jackie Godby, Maria Holdcroft, Meyer, Ariel Verhaeren with her return to esports is here, one of the best sprinters in the world, coming back from some awesome crit racing in North America, and Mika Soderstrom, who we saw take down that first preem. So that's going to be an interesting one as well after this 2-up sprint, or maybe a getaway like we saw from Mikhail Planthero here in the last few K.
There's still time. Kolchinski and Furrer, they're a bit further down, a minute 29 down on McCarthy in the lead. As we go back to her, 640 meters to go. What a ride and what a win, Nathan. McCarthy did exactly what she needed to do, and look at the pain on the face going all the way to the line. She can back off now. Doesn't matter how big the win is, you just have to go across the line first. And what a ride from McCarthy. Perfectly timed, perfectly executed.
Yeah, it backs on off to 3.8 watts per kilogram. Can celebrate a victory. Not done. I wouldn't call it an easy win. That was one of the hardest efforts I've ever seen in the world of Zwift racing. Absolutely amazing to see. There's big numbers popping off behind, though, as I'm actually seeing behind something really amazing. But Kate McCarthy here now going to take this down. Big win for her out here today. Amazing job. But Kristen Kolchinski just used her drafting power up. I'm not sure exactly why. That might have been an accident, actually, because that is way, way early to be using that. It's almost sad to see, because I have a feeling that was most likely an accident. Now Guerra here going to come in for second place. Can roll across the line easily with that time gap. Amazing job. Now the big question mark is, how do things play out for the virtual leaderboard and the overall individual classification? Now it's Katrin Furr leading things out here. It's going to be a downhill sprint, and this is going to be the first heads-up sprint we're going to see between 2 riders on the day. They got Lucy Charles Barkley 15 seconds behind, so they can't do any track standing, that's for sure, John.
No, they can't mess around. There's still Lucy Charles Barkley. She's traveling behind, trying to get back to them. But now Furrer uses the power-up. Now we go to a sprint. Furrer, obviously the favourite here. We still actually haven't really opened it up yet. And there we go. Furrer opens up. Kolchinski doesn't even answer. She goes up to 7.7 watts per kilo. But all the way to the line. Furrer taking away third place. Off the quick maths, that means Furrer and Guerra should be tied on points. So it'll be interesting who takes the lead. And how coming home in 5th place, Lucy Charles Barkley. Great ride there. Ironman World Champion in 2023, making her way to Zwift. Puts it in the basket. 5th place.
We have a pretty amazing heads up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 riders with Jackie Godby. Meyer is here as well. This is going to be Cryo RDT with Maria Holdcroft, Ariel Verhaeren, and Mika Soderstrom. Mika Soderstrom and Ariel Verhaeren may be the favorites, but with the downhill sprint and Jackie Godby looking to lead it out, perhaps that's going to be the way that she wants to make this happen, because she's just got raw watts. I mean, massive raw watts. Watch out for her. But Mika now open it up, and she's almost unstoppable, but that's really early to go. 13 watts per kilogram. She's got a good gap here at this point, but it might have been a little bit too early. She's opened up about 10 meters. Is that going to start coming down? Here comes Verhaeren and Godby, but Mika, nope, unstoppable. Able to hold off. Now to the line, Verhaeren naps it just barely from Godby, it looks like. What a return to esports for Ariel Verhaeren, getting the minor placings with that field sprint. Nice little job done there for Ariel Verhaeren, behind Mika Soderstrom, Jackie Godby, Maria Holdcroft, and then Nicole Meyer. That's your top 10. Nicely done. Series pass actually going then to Lucy Charles Barkley and Jackie Godby. Great to see. Now we're going to round things out for your top 20 as they come around these final corners. It's going to be Marlene Yarheed opening it up very early, but this is going to be an Ionian rider. Is that going to be Cecilia Hansen? Yes, it is. Cecilia Hansen trying to make it happen here from way out, but now the double here, double kick, going to make it happen. Wow. Nicely done with that double kick across the line. Marlene Yarheed able to beat out Cecilia Hansen. That's not seen that often. As one little kick here from, is that going to be Lisa Hermanson for the Movistar team?
Perfectly timed. There's some groups here. You could see the riders all over the roads of Watopia. Groups of 2s and 3s. And here we have Vicky Whitelaw sprinted against Alice Lethbridge. Two really experienced Zwifters coming home for 18th and 19th place. You can see the difference of those riders. This effort, this course has taken so much out of them. Looks like Whitelaw just took it from Lethbridge, 18th. It'll be Lucy Gard coming home to round out the top 20. What a painful race for all these Zwifters today. One of the hardest courses there has
kick
to be.
From Liz Van Houweling, 9 watts per kilogram. Sophie, not going to respond to that. Liz, one of the best sprinters in the world, but for sure, and able to still throw down a solid 10 watts per kilogram. This is a large group coming to the line, though, and that's going to be Sophie, Giovanni, Christine Schneider. Christine Schneider, 9 watts per kilogram, going to lead that out. Is she going to get the better of everybody else? I think that she did. Rhiannon Denton is here as well with Maria Marb taking 28th there. So that's Rhiannon Denton there in second wheel, sitting on, up and out of the saddle, looking for her sprint. Sarah London, big kick from behind though, out of nowhere. That is going to be upsetting the apple cart here, as that's Kate Trudden. Nicely done, the Australian national champion. Good job on her getting the surprise. Nobody saw that coming, John. That was very tactically savvy.
Yeah, perfectly timed there. You had the power up on, straight through the group, straight through, straight over the top. The Aussie champ showing what she can do. What a tough race today, though. Everyone just getting whatever you've got left out, trying to sprint. Legs, you just are screaming at you when you come into a finish like this, hoping it's over sooner rather than later.
Britt Litton here. She's got a gap on Leah Cuthbertson, Laura Meyer, Malene Proust, as well as Elise Gallegos, but she's got to work for it because they're coming on hot at this point, 10 watts per kilogram behind. They're closing very quickly. I think she's actually going to get caught right at the line. Oh, the upset there. Nicely done from Leah out of Scotland. Cuthbertson able to make the catch. Littenauer going to come on through for the next place in 38th. Meyer followed up by Prost. Then it's going to be Marcel Smithers and Elise Gallegos there in 42nd place. Haley Simmons from Movistar, she can be taking 43rd, coming in solo just ahead of Rachel Brown. Now it looks like we've got Haley Simmons still to the line. Brown now, the next rider that's going to be rounding up our top 44. She rocked the setup. I think she might have a rocker plate. Has plenty of movement there. Jen Reel is going to be the next one from Saris Esports to be coming across the line, I think, in about 45th place or so. So well done to all the riders as we look to get it our overall results and team results today in individual classification. It was a little bit different race, wasn't it, John, out there for the ladies? You know, I felt like definitely keeping things a little bit calmer up front, riding conservatively until everything really popped off.
Yeah, it really was. It was all about the grade KOM. Really controlled early on. We saw Mika Soderstrom. She took that important sprint at the Woodland Sprint. But after that, it was all about Kate McCarthy. The Kate McCarthy show tonight. She lit everything up. A brilliant ride from the bottom of that KOM. Kulczynski started the pace off. She made the first move, but it was just a question who could try and stay with McCarthy, and the question was answered by no one. A brilliant ride, a brilliant win, and you have to take your hats off to McCarthy for a great win. And then behind there, Guerra in second place, 30 seconds down just about in the end. And that was just a consistent ride again. Two of them almost in a time trial competition against each other after the top of the grade KOM. And then behind that, eventually showing her experience, Catherine Furrer got back to Kulczynski and took home the final podium spot.
Yeah, let's go ahead and take a look at the results, how things played out here today. And it is Kate McCarthy taking it down in 1 hour and 11 minutes flat. Gabriela Guerra, 33 seconds back for second place. Catherine Furrer in third at 1:23, 2 seconds up from Kristen Kulczynski in that 2-up sprint. Kulczynski fourth. Lucy Charles Barkley in fifth place in her debut return to esports racing. Great to see her jumping in with the top esports riders out here today. Mika Soderstrom wins the field sprint amongst those top 10s there, followed up by Ariel Verhaeren with her return as well. Great to see Ariel, as I think she's going to be getting into the season. Watch out for her. She is a danger woman out here, that's for sure. Jackie Gabi, 8th place, followed by Maria Holdcroft, and then Nicole Meyer. That's your top 10 today.
And then right now, that 11th, Roberta Bassoni, Eleni Brahead, Cecilia Hansen 13th, and Siedlich, Hermansson, Engstrom, Nevin in 17th. And then we had Vicky Whitelaw, the experienced Australian, Lethbridge, and then Lucy Gadd rounding out that top 20. But you can see the time gaps there, all in groups of 1s or 2s. What a punishing race tonight.
And there is the finish line podium with Kate McCarthy taking first place, followed by Gabriela Guerra and Catherine Furrer. I'm liking what I'm seeing here. We've got a Zwift Games repeat in some ways, perhaps. We'll see how that virtual, or now individual classification ends up. Mika Soderstrom takes that first preem in pure sprinter style. Rian Denton followed up by Lucy Charles Barkley. That's the first preem. And then second preem, Kate McCarthy obviously up on the top of the grade. Second place to Gabriela Guerra up at the top. And then Kristen Kulczynski follows it up. That is the results today for this race number 2 in the Zwift World Series. We're going to take a look at some replays about how everything played out. There is the finish for Kate McCarthy. She came across the line. No celebration for Kate, it looks like. Just a sigh of relief. Oh, there's a little bit of celebration. Fist pump. Good to see it. A big smile in the garage as she takes that down. Definitely a dominating performance for Kate out there today, John.
Yeah, definitely a deserved win. You can't take anything away from her on that. A nice little punch at least. Bit of a celebration, nice to see. But what an effort that has been. That would have been hell from you hit that climb on the grade and then to have to carry on. Once you're on your own, sometimes it's quite nice. You can settle into your own rhythm. But Gera kept her honest throughout. What a little, almost a pure time trial at the end.
That was quite the battle. Watching that play out up and over the top. I mean, the time was actually gained only on the grade. From the grade onward, it was essentially the same time gap all the way through. Those two went head to head, really in their own little worlds, watching that time gap. Can it come back? Will it go out? Very interesting to see. I thought perhaps at one point, the way Catherine and Kristen were riding, that they may be able to bring that back, especially if Lucy was with them. But that move from Catherine Furr to jump across to Kristen Kolchinski, actually, that was actually a series perhaps deciding move in the future. I mean, if she would not have jumped across to Kristen and stayed with Lucy there, that may, change things up a lot. That's a massive gain, actually, for Catherine to make that move and get into a rhythm with Kristen during the race today.
Yeah, it really was. It earned a third place on today's race, and those points, you know how close it's going to be. We don't know exactly the leaderboard yet, but it's going to come down to those little decisions, those decisions you make on the limit that could get you the win. So Furr, perfect. Over to Kolchinski, gapped Lucy Charles Barkley at the perfect time. It's going to be an interesting one when we get a chance to look at this leaderboard. We had that virtual leaderboard on the right. We know that it's really tight between Gera and Furr, but I'm really looking forward to that. And Kolchinski, who we always thought one of the best climbers in the world, American hill climb champion, but didn't have the answer to McCarthy when she went today.
Yeah, I think we'll bring in OJ now, have a little chat about how the race went. OJ, hanging out in the studio, what did you think about how that went down out there today? A very cat and mouse up front, and then...
Well, exactly that, Nathan. I think what was interesting from watching it from my point of view was, considering nothing really happened with anyone changing positions for the second half of the race, it was still so amazingly exciting. I've actually got a question for you, actually, maybe for you, John, as well. And that is, we saw Kate McCarthy go so deep to take the lead over the top of the grade. How much do you think she had to have confidence in her own ability to put herself through, what was it, half an hour, 40 minutes of absolute pain to hold off what she knew was going to be a charge coming after her?
Yeah, that's a great question, actually. I mean, but this is the thing is, when a racer is familiar with themselves in a race situation with the athletes, that's where experience really plays a role here with these athletes, because Kate McCarthy has done this before. She knows that she can do this kind of an effort amongst these athletes, and then kind of has an idea of where she can gauge things. And so I think that her plan was exactly this. I don't think that this was just a spur of the moment thing. I think her plan was get the time gap I need and stay consistent all the way to the end. It was a little risky, though. There is a reality there that it was a little risky because of the talent that was behind her. And if they all got together and were like, today we're just going to take down Kate, that may have been, some motivation there, but I think there's a lot of infighting, too, with where the points stand. So, very smart move by Kate, and she just earned that one out there, didn't she, today?
Yeah, and a question as well about Lucy Charles Barkley. Considering she doesn't come from a Zwift background, we know she's the Ironman World Champion of 2023. I mean, I watch all her stuff on Instagram as well. How good was that performance? And do you think maybe with a bit more Zwift racecraft, she could have come higher than fifth? I mean, fifth's still great. It still gets her a pass as well. But do you think she could have come higher maybe with a bit more Zwiftcraft?
I actually had an interview this past week with a community member who is an endurance athlete, specifically with long time trials. And he said he has to get into some tiny races, do some of these shorter, punchier races for Zwift type racing. And I think the reality is that Lucy, when she gets some of these VO2 efforts underneath her belt for the next couple of weeks and months, watch out for the next race. She's got the base there, she's got the threshold there and all of that. Now, whether or not she wants to put that focus in specifically for esports, because she's got the talent. And, you know, John, speak to this a little bit from your road racing background. There is definitely a big difference between a pure TT type rider and somebody who can do those kind of VO2 efforts. And you got to build that over a little bit of time, don't you?
Yeah, it takes time to come. But, you know, Charles Barkley, one of the best athletes there is in the Ironman. Today was a perfect example. I think Fura just timed that attack into the super tuck, knowing the game, knowing Zwift, and that is the only reason she got distance. Lucy is 100% strong enough to have stayed with Fura when she made the move. She could have gone all the way to the line. But those little things, you need to play the game. You need to race on the game to learn where you need to make those accelerations. And that is the perfect example today. Lucy Charles Barkley, if she carries on in this series, she's definitely one to watch for a victory later on.
And she's got that amazing pain cave as well, which I think all of us are completely jealous of. Not just amazing, but it's got a boxing ring in there as well. Now, in each race of the Zwift World Series, riders are going to earn points based on their finishing position. At the end of the series, there's prize money available for the top 10. The top 50, importantly, are going to be invited to race in the Zwift Games, which is in March 2025. So, Nathan, do you want to take us through then the individual series classification for the women? 2 races down out of the series. Where are we at?
It's tied at the top. Gabby Guerra at 148. Catherine Furr, 148. I believe Gabby gets the current lead simply because of the last race count back. Kristen Kolchinski there in 3rd place, battling it out with Mika Soderstrom, only a 1-point difference. This is quite the competition. Ariel Verhaeren now. Nice one by Verhaeren there. 5th place there. Now, Cecilia Hansen, 6th. Lisa Hermanson, 7th. Maria Holdcroft, and Nevin, and Liz Van Houweling, rounding out your top 10 for the individual classification.
It also just goes to show you as well that you don't stop racing, because those little individual moments, you may feel like you've been dropped and you're not going to get the win, but you know, wherever you place means as we go through, that consistency is going to be key if you want to take the overall when it comes to the entire series. And there you go, we have it. Thank you so much to John and Nathan. Fabulous commentary for both of those races. We have more coverage back in 2 weeks' time on October the 31st with Nathan and Dave Toll for the Open Qualifier of Race 3 on Yorkshire's newest route. And for the first time raced, it's going to be Yorkshire Double Loops, which I look forward to seeing. I will see you back here November the 14th for the Elite Race, so I look forward to seeing you then. As always, I like to end it with a big old ride on. Ride on.